Yes,
Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulillah, ma ba'd. Inshallah, before we'll go to the main topic, only just one word, the last thing. You know, Rasulullah in one of the hadith, it says that whatever people in the previous nations they did, Christians and Jews, we are going to follow them. Okay? So if you remember when Rasulullah even made a statement saying if some of them did commit zina with their mother, so there will be someone in Muslims in my nation who will do the same. Okay? Means we will do whatever they did. Okay? Perfectly. So it is, even Rasulullah mentioned, just you will be following by hand spine. Okay? So if you remember when Rasulullah came, there were already some people practicing. Okay? And then, for example, one of them in here, so whatever they did before Rasulullah came and in the time when Rasulullah was there, we are going to do the same, according to this hadith. Okay? So here, some ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهِ مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِلَّا اتِّبَاعَ الظَّنِّ وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ يَقِينًا. If you know, for example, Jews in the time of Rasulullah, they used to claim that they killed Isa. Am I right? As well as Christians used to believe that he has been killed. Okay, so definitely there will be someone in this ummah who will make something similar to that statement. Okay, and then what is that statement? First of all, it is a matter of aqeeda. Am I right? Isa being killed or not being killed, it is a matter of aqeeda. Okay, so Allah says, مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ عِلْمٍ إِلَّا اتِّبَاعَ الظَّنِّ. Those people who are making that statement, they do not have a certainty, they do not have a knowledge, but only they are following their thoughts. Okay, as well as in the next ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن تُطِعْ أَكْثَرَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ يُضِلُّكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ إِنْ يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ وَإِنْ هُمْ إِلَّا يَخْرُصُونَ. If you follow the majority of the people to find God, they will misguide you. Why? Because مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ. Allah says, إِنْ يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ. They are following only their thoughts. So it was one of the illness, one of the disease of the previous nations, that they wouldn't follow the knowledge, but they would follow their own thought. Do I have it now or not? Rasulullah said, whatever they did, all Muslims you are going to do. Okay? So then, isn't it that some of the brothers are following Quran and Sunnah? I say that is not knowledge, but that's their own thought. Okay? But the knowledge will be the proper meaning of the Quran and Sunnah. Okay, so it's just small, we can say, footnote, just on the, we can say, corner of today's speech. Anyway, so today's topic is the main thing. Today, first is Awra, and the second is clothing, and the next is free mixing, and after that is professions, inshallah. So whatever we will be talking about today, all of them has got references, and I did email it to the brothers here. So anyone needs references for whatever we'll be saying, so inshallah they can go to Brother Rehanullah to get the references from the authentic books. So first thing, in order to understand when Hanafis say it is permissible to get into the free mixing, so you have to understand what Hanafis mean. There are some restrictions and conditions. It's not like you are in one room, okay, with the ladies who are not meeting the condition. Okay, so we have to go through all of them. So the first thing is the Awra. The Awra means private place that you have to cover. The first thing is the Awra of man. In Hanafi Madhab, anything between belly button up to the knees to be considered as Awra. Belly button is not Awra, but the knees are Awra in Hanafi Madhab. Okay, but in Shafi'i it is other way around. So when we say belly button, so it is right underneath belly button, just always round and back. And anything is, underneath till the knees, all of that will be classified as awra. Okay, so that is the awra of man among themselves as well as between men and women. Okay, so does it mean that according to Hanafi Mazhab, now we all can take off our things, you know, in the shorts will go out? We say yes, you're not going to be sinful of committing haram, but it will be wajib to cover your body if your body is causing fitna. So women are looking, oh, you know, and men are looking also, oh, you know. So then it is wajib. But is it because it's awra? We say no. Okay, so according to that, you are in the swimming pool and you will cover up that much, and even if some women will come, so you don't have to cover the rest. Okay, so that's very easy.
So Sheikh, is it up to the knee or up below the knee? So
knees are included in Hanafi.
Knees
included, so you have to cover it. But in Shafi'i, knees are not included, but belly button is included.
Which opinion do you take?
I'm Hanafi.
Okay.
Yeah, I do not pick and choose. I follow the Hanafi position.
So even if you're in a swimming pool that's only for male, is it still you still need to cover your knees?
Exactly, yes. Yeah, in Hanafi Madhab. But then inshallah you will see the clothes which is fard to be worn. It is one of them is the awra which is agreed upon between mazahib is fard to be covered, and anything which is disagreed upon, so if you're Hanafi then it's wajib, not fard. Okay, so what does it mean? It means that between belly button up to the knees is agreed upon, but knees are excluded in Shafi'i as well as belly button is excluded in Hanafi. So we say anything in between is fard to be covered, but the extras it is wajib in their own madhab, but in the opposite madhab is only mustahab. So I am as Hanafi, to cover between belly button up to the knees is fard, but to cover the knees is wajib, because Imam Shafi doesn't say it is awra. But what about covering the belly button? Because I'm Hanafi, I say it's mustahab. Why? Because Imam Shafi says it's awra. That's it. Okay, so agreed upon awra is fard, and disagreed upon awra place. If it is in your madhab, it is awra, so it's wajib. But if it is in opposite madhab, it is mustahab to be covered.
Is it true the Malikis, it's just this area?
No, it's incorrect. It's very famous about them, but it's incorrect.
Really?
Yeah, but they distinguish between minor awra and major awra. So major awra is only them two places, and the rest is minor, but that's still awra.
But still awra.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it is major sin and minor sin. That's the thing.
Is this based on a hadith?
Sorry?
Is this based on a hadith?
Yeah, yeah. So once Rasulullah was sitting, so uncovered, hadith says in one of the narrations, fakhiz, that place. What do they call it?
Thigh.
So up to the
thigh.
Yeah.
Thigh.
So then Rasulullah was sitting just next to the river, and the feet was inside, deep in the river. So Abu Bakr came, and then Abu Bakr joined, and then he did the same. And Umar came, they did the same. And when Uthman came, Rasulullah straight away did cover it up. So then they said, Ya Rasulullah, what's the matter? So Rasulullah said, why I wouldn't be ashamed of a person from whom even the angels are ashamed of. Okay, so that is basically
So I didn't understand that. So in front of Abu Bakr, he didn't push it down?
No.
But Uthman, he pushed it down?
Yeah, yeah.
But wouldn't that say that it's not hard?
No.
Why not in front of Abu Bakr?
Yes, so Shafi'is are saying it was out of adab. But otherwise, knees are not awra, because if Rasulullah did roll up the trousers up to that place, means knees were uncovered. So Shafi'i say knees are not awra.
So before Abu Bakr came,
yeah, it was uncovered.
It was up here?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Here?
No, it was in the fakhiz. So or it could be any in this in between there, because all of that is fakhiz.
Okay.
Yeah, so as a minimum, knees were uncovered.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it could be anywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
So Abu Bakr could have seen it up here or
exactly.
here.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's open to interpretation.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but we in Hanafis we do follow some other hadith, and we say it is the earliest status of the awra.
Because each Hanafi and Halafi have different traditions. What is awra, from the belly button, the knees, and don't they just cover up both of them? Would that be fine?
Yes, that's what we say. That's better. Okay, so to actually cover the awra, which is considered as awra in opposite madhahib, we should do cover. But that would be not wajib, but mustahab. Okay.
So
yeah.
So the Hanafi say it's fard to cover the knees.
Yeah, we say wajib.
Wajib.
Because Imam Shafi says it's not awra. But in our madhab it is awra. But we say it is mustahab to cover the belly button. Because in our madhab it's not awra, but in Shafi it is awra.
Why did the Hanafis make a distinction with fard and wajib in this issue?
No, there are many other issues.
No, I know, but why is it on this issue?
Because anything which is qat'i, do you know the difference between qat'i and dhanni?
Yeah.
So qat'i evidence doesn't reach to the level of the dhanni doesn't reach to the level of fard. Okay, and dhanni means doubtful. If there was disagreement, means it's a doubtful statement.
Yeah.
So dhanni doesn't reach to the level of fard.
Yeah. Okay.
Because of that.
It's almost being slightly modest when saying this is fard because of the evidence, just in case. So is that why?
Yeah. So we say it is metaphorically fard to cover the knees. Yeah. So fard is to cover the awra about which mazahib agreed upon. That's it. So that is awra. And what about the awra of women? So awra of women amongst themselves, we say it is the same as awra of men. So it is group of women in the steam room. So it is between belly button up to the knees. Knees included in Hanafi and belly button is not included. But in Hanafi madhab also, we say that is only with practicing Muslimah ladies. But if it is disobedient Muslimah ladies, then ladies should cover up as a normal. Why? Because the disobedient lady will go and describe that lady, you know. She will say in the breast she has got some sanics, you know, and it may cause some fitna actually. So we say this awra is between practicing obedient ladies. Okay?
And is this based on a hadith as well, or is it just analogy?
It is analogy. It's based on the analogy, yes. And the next is, but what about the awra of the lady? Awra of the lady between men and women. So we say in Hanafi madhab, everything beside face and palms considered to be as awra. Feet also. Now we have several opinions in terms of the feet. First statement, that is the initial position of Hanafis. Feet are awra inside and outside of salat. Okay? And then there is another position, which is in ikhtiyar, al-musalli. He says feet are awra outside of salat, but not inside. And another position in which it says, Abdul Ghani Nabusi says, feet are awra inside of salat and not outside of salat. And that's what we follow. So, feet of the lady, not considered to be awra outside of salat. But inside of salat, she has to cover it up. Yes.
Why is that?
Sorry?
Why is feet classified as awra?
There is hadith in which Rasulullah ﷺ has been asked. Some lady, Salama most likely, came to Rasulullah saying, Ya Rasulullah, is it okay if I pray in Jalabiya? Do you know that Jalabiya and scarf? Rasulullah ﷺ said, yes, as long as the Jalabiya is covering up to your top of your feet. Okay? Abu Hanifa said, underneath of the feet is not awra, but top of the feet is awra, according to this hadith. And then there is some Salafi scholar, Dr. Salahuddin something, I don't know him, he's from America. So once in the lecture he has been asked about the awra, awra of women. And then he quoted everything perfectly, and then he quoted from Abu Hanifa saying, Abu Hanifa said, the top of the feet are not awra, but underneath is awra. And then he made fun of that statement, saying, I find it very strange how Abu Hanifa, how is possible that underneath could be covered but not top? I said to him, if you are not Hanafi, then do not slander Abu Hanifa. Abu Hanifa said, on top is awra, but underneath is not awra, because of the hadith which is narrated by Imam Bukhari, Salama, the same hadith. If the jalabi is covering up to the top, zuhuri qadamayha, zuhur is the top of the feet. So then it's permissible for her to pray. So if top is covered, so underneath is not covered. Am I right? So that is the exact position of Abu Hanifa. And then that professor or doctor, whatever Salafi person, he gave priority to the opinion of Shafi'i, Ahmad and Malik, and then made fun of the statement of Abu Hanifa. I said Abu Hanifa was so literal to follow the hadith of Sahih al-Bukhari. So if someone needs to be made fun of, so it is only him. Because he's slandering Abu Hanifa about something that Abu Hanifa never said. It's very strange. They slander all the time, they're all the time slander. Anyway, so that is our position. So outside of Salat, we say it is not Awra, but inside it is Awra. That's one thing. As well as we do have another issue. So do you know the professionals, ladies, for example, cooks, or for example, doctors, okay, GPs. In Hanafi Madhab, we say their arm is not Awra, up to the elbow, while they are working. Okay, for example, GP, or for example cook. She's cooking now. Okay, so she works from 9 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock in the evening as cook. So while she's in the restaurant cooking, so up to the elbows, we say it is not Awra. But as soon as she leaves the restaurant, stops working, she needs to cover it up again, back.
What's this based on? The hadith?
Sorry?
Which hadith is this based on?
Because it is Quran. In Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا. Okay? And let them to not uncover, let them to not show their beauty except the external one. Okay? Ali ibn Abi Talib as well as Abdullah ibn Abbas, they said external beauty is, surma and then ring. Okay? Abu Yusuf said, the bracelets are also one of the part of external awra. Okay? And then that's one proof. And the second proof, lady, professional lady, she has got need of uncovering it very often. So if we say, carry on uncovering it when you work and put it back when some man is coming in, so it will cause hardship. So is it darura?
So this is not so much hadith.
Sorry?
It's not hadith.
No. It is mainly based on ayah as well as the case of darura, necessity. Because let's suppose some cook is working there right now. If we say arm is awra, and she needs to uncover to cook, to wash the plates, for example. So each time one man will go into the kitchen room, she has to cover it, and when he leaves, she has to uncover it to carry on washing, So it causes hardship. So because of darura matter, we say only for the professionals it will be allowed to uncover it only during their working time, only. As soon as they will go out, it becomes awra. Okay, and that is a statement of Shami and all of the, and you can find the references in here.
The farmers are included in this.
Sorry?
Farmers.
So we say professionals. Anyone in whose work it is needed.
What about if someone says, as a general rule, one could show here?
No.
What about the legs? For example, if a lady's harvesting in a rice field, she needs to fold up her...
Yeah. There is not an exception. In Hanafi Mazhab, no exclusion. Only feet. Up to the ankles, actually.
So if she's working in an environment where there's water up to the knees, she's not allowed to...
In Hanafi, we would not give permission. No permission. So only the arms. Okay, only the arms.
Is that because they never addressed it, or does that mean it's just not allowed? Because if you're saying that they can show the arm because of working, well, someone could say, why can't you show it here because of working?
No, because for example, when our scholars they were giving fatwa, they did consider all of these, So if they didn't give permission, means it's not permissible. Okay, so that's one thing. And the second thing, the matter of the face in Hanafi Madhab, we say first the face is not awra, but only in the situation of the fitna, it will be wajib, not fard, wajib to cover it up, to stop the fitna. So I say the matter of face, it is the same as the matter of the shoulder of a man. Okay, so is man responsible to cover up his shoulders? In Hanafi Madhab, I say no, unless if it is causing fitna. Okay, so for example, do you remember the fashion in which they used to uncover their chest, okay, and the hairs would be coming up, you know? So it used to be fashion, but then definitely it would cause some certain fitna, you know, with the women. It would cause fitna. So we say only in that case it will be wajib to cover the top. Yes.
Sheikh, I'm sure you're going to address this in a minute, but what you said about the issue of fitna reminded me of something which I was taught. Basically, the Hanafis in this country who say that covering the face is wajib. Actually, some of them say fard, but I think it's actually because they haven't understood the distinction between fard and wajib. I was taught it was fard because it will cause fitna. So they say in this society, situation is so bad, if a woman goes out and you can see her face, then it causes fitna, therefore it's fard. Or wajib, you know, which would be the correct thing. So they use that as a reason to make.
Yeah, first of all, it's not fard. Fard is only something which is set up by Quran or mutawatir hadith. Okay, so about the awra, there is Quran as well as mutawatir hadith. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, so now the issue of the face. The issue of the face, as I said, so face in Hanafi Madhab is not Awra, but in Shafi'i it is Awra. As far as I know, even in Hanbali it should be part of Awra. So then, in terms of lady covering the face or putting on niqab, we say that will be only wajib, not fard, will be wajib, only if her face is causing fitna. Okay, now, the general understanding of fitna and the specific understanding of fitna in this mas'ala. General understanding of fitna, which we did explain before, whenever there is some hardship was caused. Okay, hardship caused. For example, let's say that I'm the, for example, president of some city, and I will stop one bus, okay, from functioning. So for example, 202 bus used to be from East London to West London, and then I will cancel that. So now people, they used to use that bus, right? So now they are unable to do it. So now they are going to catch a taxi, which is much expensive, or they are going to do, instead of one direct line, they are going to do it through 2 or 3 another buses. So I did cause fitna. So that is the general understanding of fitna, and that is actually haram. But then how fitna will be worked in the face of the lady? So I say it will be as, for example, let's suppose that I am now a Abedian practicing Muslim, and I'm studying. But if I will see some lady's face, and she's so attractive, that I will think about me studying, and I will get affected. Okay, it will pull me towards falling into love or thinking about sexual things. So that is the hardship of the matter. Okay, that is about me being felt into the fitna. But what about the women? Because we say it will be wajib for the lady to cover her face in the fitna caused for them or in the fitna caused by them. So fitna caused by them, you understood? Yes.
This fitna issue, but isn't it clear that Allah said lower your gaze?
Okay.
I find it difficult to understand why it's the woman's responsibility to cover the face, because the man is having fitna. Shouldn't the man just lower his gaze? Because then we have to close all the women's faces, because the man is having problems all the time.
Okay, I'll answer this question. Yes, another question there. Is the same one?
It's the same one, yes, it's the same one.
So we have to cover every single one.
Look, I can understand him.
Yeah.
Okay, he's married, but are you married?
No.
So then I don't understand why you ask.
No, it's just generally because it's married.
Okay, yeah, of course.
So
yeah, correct, yes. Okay, so you know, we're not angels, aren't we? So, getting rid of the fitna sometimes could mean decreasing the number of the hardship. Because you never will be living in the perfect country. Even if 90% of people will be obedient, then still 10% of a people will be disobedient, you know. So we're not angels. So to say women shouldn't have to cover their face, but men should be taking away their eye, we say now you are speaking to the angels, you know. So which one is easier, to force the men to not to look or to ask the women to do that? Doesn't make sense. Okay, so that's it then.
Yeah, I just think that in every situation that women would have, then it becomes wajib, by default, to cover the face.
Anyway, for the men is also haram to look at the women.
Surely, yeah.
Okay, but then now we're not talking about sin. We're talking about the country, to stop the crime in the country. But in terms of sin, man is also sinful. We're not saying, oh man, if it's not, just look. We don't
so you're looking at practicality.
Of course.
But the problem here would be then women would be, if we continue this way of thinking, we would never see women in the streets. They'll all be locked up in the house.
Then why do they need to go out then? You know,
yeah.
You know, it's weird. It's a man's world. You know.
Yeah.
So they have to be sitting in the house. That's better. You know.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Look, the main thing, it's impossible to not to cause a problem. Definitely there will be problems, but practically, according to Islam, we have to try to decrease the reason.
Yeah.
Something which is possible, we do it. But
yeah.
is it logically possible to force them to sit at home?
No.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It does make sense. So that's why we cannot force them to sit at home, but something that we can control the crime by doing, we do.
Okay. But would that mean that if someone was exceptionally beautiful, then the state will say, cover your face?
Yes. To you can say stop the crime or to stop the problems.
But
yes.
Surely, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there were beautiful women.
Yeah.
They didn't all wear niqab.
How do you know that? They used to.
No, but not all of them.
No, not all of them. Even Ata'ibn Abi Rabah says that I saw the women, they're having only just hole covered and only one small hole for one eye, you know?
Yeah.
So we're talking about that.
No, I understand, but I'm saying not all the women.
No, not all of them, no.
Not all the, say, beautiful women didn't wear, I mean, the Prophet ﷺ married.
Is it most probability or is it impossibility? So have you been in the time of Sahaba?
No, the Prophet ﷺ married someone very, very beautiful. She was the most beautiful, but did she wear niqab?
Are you talking about?
I think it's Jewish.
Sophia.
Yeah, I think one of the most beautiful women.
No, it's not most beautiful, but she was No, she wasn't very beautiful.
Okay.
She was the daughter of the king of that tribe.
There is one woman that he married. She was very, very beautiful.
Zainab, was it Zainab?
No, she was from noble family.
Okay, maybe I don't know.
Yeah, not any of the ladies, but there are some Sahabiya ladies who actually married to several Sahaba, and she was the most beautiful lady of Medina after Sayyidah Fatima, yes. But she wasn't the wife of Rasulullah.
I understand.
Anyway, in Hanafi Mazhab we say face will be wajib to cover only when it is causing fitna. And what's the meaning of causing fitna? We say when people see, they get, maybe they fall into some love, maybe, or it reminds them of doing something strange, you know, on the side. So we say, if you know, fitna we did describe as fitna caused by them or fitna caused to them. So fitna caused by them, you know, men are looking and falling into love and etc. But fitna caused to them, so when men see that, men will be speaking to them, you know, oh, such a beautiful eyes, you know, so you understand. So we say that is the fitna. Okay, so according to that, our mashayikh, my mashayikh, they say, so if the real reason of covering the face is fitna, so this reason will work on other way around also. So if we are living in a place in which covering fitna, I mean covering the face will cause a fitna, what's the meaning of fitna? Fitna caused by them or fitna caused to them. We say then it will be wajib to uncover.
Right.
So for example, fitna caused by them, so by covering the face, they're going to put down the new converts who are going to accept Islam. Or fitna caused to them if people will see, racists will see the lady with covered face, so there will be big number of ladies with covered face, they insulted in the streets. We say now, fitna caused by covering the face, we say it is wajib to not to put. So, the reason will prove the thing as well as it will disprove the thing also.
So then that negates it, really?
Sorry?
That would mean that negates it. Especially in this society.
Okay.
Because, for example, if you had someone who's very attractive, she covered up today, but then she gets abuse, then she can't wear it.
Yeah, so we say covering the face based on the reason of fitna. So if there is fitna for them to cover, then they don't have to. But if there is fitna for them to not to cover, then they have to. That's it.
So the issue of fitna is not actually Quranic or hadith. It's a...
It is fitna. Al-fitnatu akbar min al-qatl.
Yeah, but what I mean is what fitna is.
Rasulullah did explain it. So for example, do you remember when Mhmd Adnan Darwish prayed Salat al-Fajr in first rakah Baqarah, in the second Al-Imran? Rasulullah was very angry, said, "Are you fitna man, O Mu'adh?" Do you remember? Because he said, because whenever you are praying, make your salat shorter, because there are people who are praying behind you, some of them are ill, some of them have breastfeeding, so it's hardship. So the meaning of the fitna explained in Quran and Sunnah, and our scholars brought all of the hadith and filtered, and they gave us description of the fitna. But meaning is taken from Quran and Sunnah.
So Sheikh, you know, in terms of the two explanations of it, fitna caused.
Yeah.
So in this country, in this society, fitna caused by wearing the niqab.
Yes.
I agree with it.
Yes. I agree with it.
Therefore, wearing the probably why not to wear it.
Correct. Yes. I say in the UK, in most of the places in the UK is not wajib, because by wearing they're causing fitna. Because first of all, Islam has been insulted, as well as many people who would come to Islam, they didn't because of this. You know, because people have silly reasons to not to come to Islam. Yes.
So what's the definition of fitna?
Fitna is hardship.
Hardship.
Hardship caused. Religious hardship or any type of hardship. Okay, yes.
Would it be would it be similar to classify as temptation?
What is temptation?
Like looking at someone, is that similar to fitna? When you could let's say see your face, you're tempted with thoughts and actions.
You are forced to do something.
You're forced to feel like you don't want to, it's generally. So would that be still temptation to your pretty face? Like, for example, a woman's born beautiful, it's not awful, so she's just a cover up to stop man's temptation from thinking of her.
Sheikh, I just thought of something. What if the woman is tempted by the man's face? Does the man have to cover?
No.
So it's the man and the woman's face that's be tempted.
No, because men and women, they're created differently, you know?
Yeah.
So we get excited by looking, but they by hearing, you know? So that's why we say it's not permissible for men to speak with no need, you know? So speech of men like face of women.
Sheikh, well, one of the great things about this format that you're doing it is everyone gets a chance to actually understand instead of just listening and going home and then getting confused, which is what happens in most, as we say, bayans. So I'm sure you're going to clarify this, but who decides what is the fitna? So that's one question. So who makes that decision? Secondly, can that be enforced by who? Is that allowed? So let's say I'm a big scholar in Syria or Andalus, let's say, and I say a hypothetical. I say there's going to be a big fitna, there's so many beautiful women and everyone's getting attracted, it's a big fitna. So I have decided it's a fitna. Do I have a right to do that if I'm a big scholar? And B, who enforces it? Do they have a right to enforce, or is it just recommendation?
We say there are two sources of knowledge. One is government. What do we mean by government? It is president, Muslim president, or Muslim prime minister, or Muslim judge. The second source of knowledge is authentic scholars. So it is the scholars who have been given permission by government to teach and to give fatwa. So in terms of forcing and stopping that, it belongs to the government or judges or prime ministers, that category of people. But authentic scholars, they only can give us a fatwa to stop us from committing sin, but not force us. Okay, so we say all of that will go because it's a matter of fitna. And what's the meaning of fitna? Fitna is to stop a hardship in the society. So that belongs to the government. So it is Muslim president, Muslim prime minister, and Muslim judge, court.
But Sheikh, this idea of fitna then it can be abused because then people say women should not sit together with men because it causes fitna. Women should be segregated because it causes fitna. Women should not.
Because what I'm trying to say, if it is coming from authentic scholar, so authentic scholar will not abuse the knowledge, am I right?
Yeah.
So that's the problem, because now in our time everyone speaks but not authentic scholars, you know. So everyone is fitna, you know. Yeah. So for example, I remember I used to have lectures, okay, in which it used to be women's program show. Okay, we used to discuss the women's issues. So, for example, maternity, divorce, and that type of issues on the TV. And then the hosting presenter used to be lady. Okay? So, and then because lady was the presenter, so we had many criticizing actually, came mainly from Maulanas. What is Maulana Sheikh is doing with the lady? And one of them said, I'm sorry, if you can just edit it. So, no, it's okay. When you just make the question very relevant. So can you imagine to have a male presenter for my show, okay, and now a show is no more for women. Now it came back to be for men again. Means women are not educated again. But if it would be women, they understand each other.
Of course.
Do you understand? And even time to time I have calls online on air from women. But then, if it would be that lady presenter, she would put the question on the proper way. But because now present is man, so it's becoming more towards the man's side, you know. So now it's again women neglected. Yes.
So Sheikh, if I understand, in an Islamic state, the Amir, he can make a decision to outlaw something which is allowed. So in Hanafi, we say showing the face is allowed.
Yeah.
But if it's going to cause fitna, he can outlaw it.
Yeah. So
can he do the same?
Government can do it, yes.
Government can do it. Yeah. But it is allowed in Hanafi.
But then government, according to the proper Islamic way, government will not do from his own pocket. But there will be mashwara, ahl shura, so he will bring them, and by their decision, Khalifa will decide, saying not covering face is causing fitna because the number of zina increased.
Mashwara with
mashwara of the wise senior scholars actually.
Okay. And to further clarify, so in that case, let's say in Saudi Arabia, because we in the dawah work, one of the main questions we get asked is how can you stop women from driving? So technically, if let's say they did some research, etc., and they decided that women driving is causing increase in zina. So are they allowed to then stop women from driving?
So we say any mubah by prohibition of government becomes haram, yes.
So government is allowed to...
Yeah, but then there is, first of all, I actually do not agree with this statement because in my own understanding, women not driving is increasing zina. Because then they need to stop taxi. Do you understand? I say it is not because of that, it's not because of that, it's not because of number of zina, but because of some ahadith. Okay, Rasulullah says, Allah did curse the women who are sitting on the saddles. Okay, and then it's misunderstanding of this hadith because have you seen ladies sitting on the saddle when she's... Do you understand? Now I understand the meaning of hadith. But driving, do they do this when they're driving? Except if Saudi cars are based on that tactic.
Is that a genuine hadith?
It is authentic hadith, yeah.
Is that saying it's prohibited for women to ride horses?
Horses, yes. Because they do have but it's permissible of their own thing, you know. So it's not saddle, but they do have their own sitting equipment, you know. So both legs will not be like that, but on one side, you know. So because sitting like that will just describe all of the shape of the lady, you know. Yeah.
So Sheikh, another, this is a fascinating discussion, but another hypothetical. What if, so you gave the example of a student, he's getting distracted by the lady.
Yeah.
What if there's a student and he's getting distracted because he cannot get married,
yeah,
and he can never see any lady, and he never sees any lady, and he can't get married, and then you have other problems like in this area, for example, I'll be honest with you, if you don't have strong family links and strong connections with certain scholars and masajid, it's very hard for the young men and the young women to ever see each other or to get married. So a lot of the young men are going into haram things and even homosexuality. So if the young men, they argue that we insist on seeing the women and interacting with them to avoid the fitna of homosexuality and to avoid the fitna of, will that be respected?
Haram doesn't become, haram never becomes source, something which is stopping the fitna. So it is the same thing. For example, let's suppose that because of the same reason I became disobedient to my parents. So then does Sharia give him permission to commit zina? So then I calm down, so I will be gentle to my parents. We say no. Okay, so haram is haram forever. Okay, but then in between there are some mubah things. So that fitna can affect on them things, you know. But in terms of haram, only the matter of darura can affect, but that much which Sharia gave permission. Eating haram food, but committing zina, even darura cannot affect on zina.
Oh,
yes.
No, you're absolutely right, and thanks for clarifying the principle. But let's say we all got together as your students, and let's say you're the scholar, so it's like an Islamic state. So you're the Amir, and we said, well, Sheikh, we can't find any girls to marry because all of the girls' face is covered, we never see it, and if we want to see the face, we have to go through the family. And so would you then say that that's causing fitna, so it's wajib to uncover the face? Not haram, but like, so you said how the fitna can work both ways, so is that valid or is that taking it too far?
It is very strange. I don't know if it's a realistic question or not. So, because
theory.
in order for you to marry, you don't have to see maybe thousands of women per day, you know. But anyway, Islamically, especially in Hanafi Mazhab, we say it's permissible to see the lady, even in the time of fitna, with no cover of the face, because it is actually mustahab to see her before you will say yes, I'm willing to marry. But it doesn't mean that we'll order all of them to take off and then to go to the street. So then we'll go to, you know, please can you give me your phone number? We do not say yes, you know. But in Hanafi Mazhab, it's allowed to see the face of the lady, even if there is fitna, even if you're afraid that you're going to fall in love, but because you're willing to marry, we say, even if there is risk of fitna, we say it's still allowed, yes.
It's you can see legs. So I heard some ajib.
It is zahiri. Zahiri, yes.
Oh, okay.
There is no within format, but it's only zahiri.
Is this genuine hadith or?
No, they've taken zahiri, they say everything beside two sides, you know. Everything naked with a, so that's zahiri position. So they take it from Rasulullah said when some Sahabi married, some Qurayshi Sahabi married the Ansari lady, Rasulullah asked, did you look at her? So Rasulullah didn't specify, saying, did you look at her face? He said, did you look at her? So all of her is her, you know. So then, so then they said this, but there is another stranger thing what you said about legs. So they are quoting from Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu with Sayyidah Kulthum, the daughter of Ali radiallahu anhu, when he lifted the clothes, the jalabiya, to see if she's hairy or not. Okay, we say so it is the ahadith. I gave you a hadith which is rejected by ijma.
Okay,
so it's one of them, yes.
Okay.
But zahiris take it literally, yes.
I think going back to what you said about in Saudi Arabia justified in doing that, the principle is there, but it doesn't mean that the outcome is right.
You said that woman's face is fitna because it causes attraction. Does that work for a woman that looks at a man?
Yes, so we say if women is looking by shahwa, by desire, sexual desire, we say she is sinful.
Okay.
So for example, let's say I will go to the shop and there is some Muslim lady is working, shopkeeper. Okay, so we say it works for both of them. So if I'm looking at her face, which is not awra, by sexual desire, I'm sinful, and the same thing about her looking at me. But if it's just, we're not thinking about that, but I'm just asking, how much is it? She says 10 pounds. We say no problem.
Just to elaborate further, because so how to decide? For example, if I'm looking at a girl and let's say the girl is really beautiful.
It's conjecture, bro. It's conjecture. The topic is conjecture.
Sure, but if I'm looking at her and I'm looking at her like this, and you say, you should stop looking. I say I don't feel any desire, and how do you know?
Yeah.
So but you can't say.
Individual thing.
So the state can't enforce.
No, it's not a state.
But only government can get engaged if there is indication of crime increasing.
So it has to
so
be
it
like
is you and God only. So we made the statement: if you are doing it by sexual desire, then you are sinful. That's it.
So in terms of this, another fascinating topic. How does the government investigate this? Because, for example, the British government, they will have some kind of crime statistics, so they know exactly in Forestgate how much. So, but in Saudi Arabia, that evidence you can't get. I've not seen any proof from these people that the driving.
We do not have Muslim state doing.
But niqab, but seeing the face is not the response. It's not the result. It's not resulting in zina. Because in Saudi Arabia, zina happens.
Yeah, it happens. Yes.
Yeah, and everyone's wearing niqab.
So. No. It's not that. It's not that. It's not only the reason. There are many other reasons also.
Yeah. So I just think that extrapolating a ruling out of this concept called fitna and saying women should cover the face, I just think it's a personal thing. It's a very individualistic thing.
Just what you can do. So, for example, just take your lady. And just walk through the street in here in London and do the same thing in one of the Muslim countries.
Yeah.
Reaction will not be same. In that country that you are referring to, not covering face, it means different thing,
Yes.
So there, it is wajib according to Hanafi Madhab to cover the face, but not here.
Yes, but it's not okay. But the reason that people cover the face in, say, Saudi Arabia is not necessarily because it's going to cause fitna, it's because that's a historical coincidence, let's say, or condition.
Yeah, it is just a habit of man.
The urf.
Correct, yes.
The urf of the people.
Yeah.
And if someone comes into the urf and someone does the opposite, just because of the urf, we see the they look a bit not because we say intrinsically, it's not intrinsically wrong, it's because it goes against the urf of the people.
But even going against the urf sometimes could be simple. That's
what I'm saying. I'm saying you should not be going against, like in Saudi Arabia, if you walk around it's completely opposite to everyone else, it would look a bit weird. It's strange, ajib. So one should probably follow.
Have you been in Saudi? So I lived in Saudi about 8 months. They have something, the lady with covered face in the street, if she opens and closes, it means something. And I know what that means. So, because now you are giving me questions based on your understanding here. It doesn't match with them,
Yeah, it's different. It's different.
So again, Sheikh, this is very interesting because are you saying that the people who are giving the fatwa decision, they should know the adab and the culture of the people they are giving that to?
In Hanafi Mazhab, one of the conditions of Mufti, he has to be aware of the habit and costume. Imam Muhammad says, I send my servant to the market once a day in order to give valid opinion, But person living in some cave and then issuing fatwa about the people who are working on computer, I say he's not a valid Mufti in Hanafi Madhab.
So I think, Sheikh, maybe this is part of the problem we're having, because certainly most of the people here, when we're growing up, they're taking fatwa from people who come from a society which is either in the Middle East or South Asia, where it's radically different to UK. For example, as you say, in where I come from back home, if someone doesn't wear like a scarf, it doesn't have to cover hair. But if they don't wear the scarf, this means something. Whereas in the UK, it's depending how short the skirt is, for example, it might mean things. So someone who has lived in UK, they have to maybe make this decision, what is fitna, not coming from India.
We have in the book, in the Fatawa Hanafi books, fiqh books, we have chapter called Kitab al-Qada, the chapter of the judgment. So it is one of the conditions that Qadi, first of all, either has to be mujtahid, or he should be next to the mujtahid scholar, as well as he has to be perfectly aware of the language and the custom of the people.
Yeah,
you know,
that makes sense. For example, there are some people in the. So I remember a brother. He had his. Him and his wife were in Ilford somewhere, and there was a man from Pakistan, not lived here very long, and his wife was wearing hijab, but he was chasing her. People that are born here, when they see a sister in hijab, they know that you don't approach a sister in hijab. If she doesn't have hijab, then you talk to her. But because he was from Pakistan, he didn't understand that, because everyone usually wears hijab. So it's depending on the culture as well.
Yes, of course, it's difficult actually to give fatwa without being aware of the correct problem.
But I think that the fitna issue is quite a complicated one, because I think it's
it's very obvious, but because people who are speaking about the content, about the meaning, description of the fitna, they are not very highly qualified.
Yeah. Okay.
So then they give their understanding, not what's written in the books, you know.
Yeah.
So, Sheikh, like you said, there's no mujtahid nowadays.
No, of course not. There is no mufti also. There is no mufti.
So that was going to be my next question, because I think what most of the youth of my age and younger, I'm not very young now, but what they'll say to you is...
I am very young. I don't know about you, but I'm still young.
But they will say to you that there is no scholar who has understanding of my society, or even, for example, they will say, I go to university, I don't know any scholar who has spent any time in university. I don't mean to study. Okay. Sorry, 1 second, Sheikh. Sheikh, like we were saying before the fire alarm went off, you know, people would tell us how to behave, for example, in university, and they don't even know what is it like in a lecture hall, if you're doing experiment, and they don't have any idea, but they give strong fatwa. So I would ask the question that you kind of already answered, like, is there such a mufti, and are you saying in Hanafi fiqh there's clear criteria that the person should have understood?
What is he speaking about?
So cultural knowledge, you would say.
Yes, costume of that place. Even one of my teachers, he has been asked about some magazine, okay, published in Arabian country, and then questionnaire asked, is it permissible to buy and read that magazine? So then my teacher didn't answer. He said, ask me next time when you see me. And then he went and he ordered one of his students to buy few copies of that, and then he did look, but he didn't look into it, but very briefly, but each single page, one by one, you know, very briefly. And next time when the same person asked, he said, I went and then I had a look. So he said, I'm saying, I'm just full stop, because there are some pictures, okay, as well as, so he said, I don't know. But then before giving his opinion, he went to look, have a look.
So perhaps, Sheikh, this is a problem actually where the people are having, is that where if someone from, let's just say, the Middle East was to, or a conservative society like Saudi Arabia, was to look in UK, they would just say, oh, fitna, 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 because they're transplanting this to, in Saudi, if a woman was dressed like this, it would be a problem.
Yeah.
Because in Saudi, as you said, if a woman even showed her face, that might be something quite shocking, something which would mean something different.
Exactly,
in the UK, covering your face means something quite shocking.
Exactly.
So it should be maybe we're getting our knowledge from scholars.
Of course, So I mean, the scholar who is giving fatwa in here, he has to be aware of the language and the habits and custom of this society actually. But besides that, his fatwa will be just piece of history, which doesn't match with the reality, you know. Okay, so it's one of the conditions of the mufti actually. No, I'm telling you, Muhammad on daily basis, once a day, he would send his servant to go to have a look on the prices and on new news, what's going on in the market. Just because he was qadi, so in order to issue correct judgment, he would be aware.
Because I think this is why, sorry to keep interrupting, this is why we get a shock, because when definitely you prove that there is this principle in Hanafi, and I'm sure maybe in the others, that if there is a risk of fitna, the state immediately has a job to intervene. The same way if my daughter was going out at night, every night, maybe she's allowed to go out, maybe not, but if I know that maybe she's going to nightclub, so I have a duty to say, look daughter, maybe just stay at home. So I have to do something. I can't just say, oh well, it's her freedom. So I think the fear we have is that if you give this permission to the scholars and the people and the so-called muftis we know, 100% of the time they will tell the woman to cover her face. They will never say she should uncover her face. This is unthinkable. So they will only be on one side. So they will use this tool only in one side. But you're balancing it by saying that this tool is there, but before anyone can use it, they need the cultural knowledge and expertise, almost like a scientist, an anthropologist.
Exactly. Or other way around, your fatwa will be only about yourself and describing you, you know. Because that's what when you see the lady with a covered face, that's what you feel, you know. But it's not according to what others feel, you know.
This is like Freud actually in Western civilization. Freud was criticized because whatever ideas and dreams, he used to interpret dreams, and his dreams were about his own sexual ideas, and he said, well, if I think like this, everyone thinks like this. So he had certain obsessions.
It doesn't match. It does match with the other people and with the reality. So mufti, one of the conditions of the valid opinion of the mufti, that he has to be aware of the culture and tradition as well as language. Okay.
So Sheikh, why is there? Why do some? Okay, so in origin, it's not first for the woman to cover her face.
No.
Why do we know that?
Sorry?
Why do we know that? Why is it allowed?
Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا. صدق الله العظيم. Means, and let them not to show their beauty. Zina is the beauty, except the external one. Ali and Ibn Abbas both said it is kuhal, surma, and khatam. Means the place of the kuhal, which is face, and place of khatam, which is palm.
So these are external.
Yes, these are external beauty of the lady. So,
except external beauty.
So let them not to show except the external beauty of them. So it is face and palm.
So the hadith said.
Ali and Ibn Abbas, yes.
Sorry, Sheikh, I think it's a very interesting statement I want to go back to. Are you saying a scholar from India or Saudi Arabia or Malaysia or wherever cannot give a fatwa about the United Kingdom unless they are expert or have done research or have visited or lived in the United Kingdom? In Hanafi Madhab, is it a condition for that person to have expertise of the society before giving a fatwa? So some guy who's lived in Saudi Arabia his whole life, he can't give a fatwa about someone living in Manchester.
Without having valid understanding of the culture and language, his fatwa and judgment may not be or will not be valid, yes. That's Hanafi position, yes.
So it's not valid to take fatwa from some person. So most of the people in this locality where you kindly come, I know you came from up north to lecture, but in East London most of the people will take fatwa from people who lived in India about 50, 60, 80 years ago, and they will apply that fatwa to this society. Is that valid?
No, it's not valid. So, for example, do you remember the story?
Sheikh, isn't it important to know the distinction as well? So if this, for example, the fatwa isn't got to do with something that culture needs to be considered, but also you can take the fatwa.
Okay. There is hadith in which Rasulullah when Rasulullah conquered Mecca. Okay, so if you know, the gate of Kaaba was there as it is now, but it's above your head. So Rasulullah when conquered, Rasulullah came back to say, the Aisha saying, if your tribe wouldn't be a new Muslims, I would destroy that gate and I would attach it, I would make it just on the level of the ground so everyone could go in and go out. Okay, so from here we say Rasulullah Islam left some permissible thing just to not to confuse the people. So consideration of the culture and costume in Islam is very valid. Allah says, وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ order the people to do recognizable things. Urf is recognized, custom. So something which is customary good, so we are responsible to do so. Okay, or خُذِ الْعُرْفَ وَأْمُرْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. What Allah says, what's the ayah? عَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفِ عَاشِرُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفِ. Live with your family according to the custom. Okay, so it's not something, it is halal and it is haram. It's not that, but there is something about culture also.
Yeah. Right, so let's start.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Okay, so just to finalize the matter of a faith, I want to quote two things, or mention two things. The first thing, if you remember, so just in terms of the culture and other things, if you remember when Imam Malik ibn Anas radiallahu anhu has written the Muwatta, he brought it to Abu Ja'far al-Mansur. Do you remember the Khalifa? And then what Khalifa said, because Khalifa also was a very great scholar, so he looked into it and he was amazed. And then he said, look, Abu Abdullah, I'm going to send it to all of the Muslim land and I'm going to force them to accept it. Then Imam Malik said, do not do that, because there are many narrations went before my book and they do have their own culture and tradition, and do not make this compulsory upon the people who do have their own views on things as well as who have their own culture. I challenge any of you to bring me a name of a scholar who is alive now who would equal 1/10 of Imam Malik. No any. So if Imam Malik sitting in Medina, he didn't force everyone to follow his opinion or to accept his fatwa, then anyone who is willing to do now, I say, he's just insane. He's majnoon, we need to find later for him. You know? Otherwise, it's not valid opinion of the authentic scholar. Okay, that's one thing. And the second thing again, also because now it is the time of fitna, but then fitna of, for example, murderer is not fitna of, for example, cheating. Am I right? So when we say in Hanafi Madhab, we say when it is the time of fitna, it is wajib upon the lady to cover up the face. So do they mean any type of fitna? We mean no. It is a fitna which is related to the face and the awra things. Okay, so that is the matter. So just to finish that issue, unless if you have any questions. Okay. So then the next issue is the voice of the lady. Is it awra or not?
Yes, according to what
yes.
we were told.
The most common understanding in Hanafi Madhab now, it is awra. Because we do have that in our Fatawa books. Okay? So then, here is the thing. Al-Allama al-Qudsi, okay, everyone knows Qudsi, is one of the Hanafi authentic scholars. So he's quoting, saying, ولا يظن من لا فتنة عنده أن إذا قلنا صوت المرأة عورة إنا نريد بذلك كلامها لأن ذلك ليس بصحيح فإنا نجيز الكلام معها أو مع النساء الأجانب ومحاورتهن عند الحاجة إلى ذلك إلى آخره. So that is the main explanation. So he says, so when we say that voice of the lady is awra, so the non-clever people shouldn't think that we mean the speech of them. Okay, so he says, we as Hanafis, we allow the speech. He says, we don't have any problem for the women to speak with the strangers, as long as there is no any, strange things. Okay, but then he says, ولا نجيز لهن رفع أصواتهن ولا تنطيطها ولا تليينها وتقطيعها لما في ذلك من استمالة الرجال إليهن وتحريك الشهوات إلى آخره. So then he says, when we say that voice of women is awra, we mean when they are raising their voice and speaking melodically or speaking on the way which is exciting the sexual desires of a man.
Seductive.
Sorry?
Seductive.
Okay, so that is only the prohibited. Anyway, and that is another thing. In Fatwa Shamiyya says, وفي المعتمد الصوت ليس عورة. According to the official Hanafi Mazhab, voice is not awra, it is Fatwa Shamiyya. As well he says, بل النغمة, but the nagma is melodic voice, you know. The soft melodic voice is awra. And what is the meaning of nagma? So he says, الصوت الحسن, to beautify the voice, you know. So that is awra actually. Okay, so that is in Fatwa Shamiyya, second volume, page number 78. As well as, so according to that, what is actually awra? It is awra to listen to the lady who is singing, or who is reading a nasheed, or who is reading poem, okay, or who is speaking on the way which is exciting, you know. Okay, so that is awra. But in terms of normally, you are speaking with lady, asking how much is the book, she says 20 pounds. Is that awra? As you can see in Mhmd Hanafi position, it is not awra. Okay, yes.
Is this a majority position of a Hanafi?
There is not any other position. It's
That's the only position.
But then, no, because what did he say? He said, Maqdisi, he said, we don't want the man la fitna, the not smart people to think when we say voice of lady is awra, they shouldn't think that we mean the speech of them. We mean the beautiful voice, you know. So there is only one opinion. But then misunderstood opinion and understood opinion, you know. But in terms of the books, you know, the authentic opinion in the book, there is only one opinion. There is no any other. Okay, but let's misunderstand.
Is this based on hadith?
Sorry?
Of course.
For example, Sayyidah Aisha has got many ahadith in Sahih al-Bukhari. Am I right? Okay. So if voice of lady would be awra, then we shouldn't have a single hadith narrated from any of the women, Sahaba or Sahabiyat, in not Bukhari, in not any of other books.
No, what I meant was, you said as melody.
Sorry?
Like singing. Is there hadith to say you should be singing?
It is in Quran. Allah says, وَلَا يَخْضَعْنَ لَهُ بِالْقَوْلِ فَيَطْمَعَ الَّذِي فِي قَلْبِهِ مَرَضٌ. And let them, women of the Rasulullah to beautify their voice when they're speaking to the man, فَيَطْمَعَ الَّذِي فِي قَلْبِهِ, because it will cause the person with weak heart to think about bad things.
But you can sing and not do that.
Sorry?
You can sing and not do that.
Singing and not, what do you think?
No, you can sing, you can do
it is also most probable thing.
I think even the Kuffar don't agree with that.
No, because I listen to opera music.
Even opera music is...
It doesn't make me get excited.
Okay, so we say that is in Hanafi Madhab is awra actually. Yeah, in Hanafi Madhab that's awra. Because, look, there are some issues in which you can put a barrier perfectly, but there are some issues which is
it's a grey area.
So let's put it outside, you know, just to keep it safe.
Is that only acceptable when it's face to face? As in, if a woman, like, if a secretary, if a woman's working as a secretary and there's one lady, she has to have like a pleasant voice in order to attract their client.
Okay.
To the business, not to her.
He's not talking about pleasant voice. He's talking about seductive.
Yeah.
Like,
no, Samir has a point, because for example, if you go into a shop, a woman will say to you in a restaurant, why do restaurants prefer to hire waitresses? For example, certain type of restaurants to attract, and
no, they're usually not wearing much.
No,
but they do speak in a nice way. A gentleman, come in, have a seat.
But that's being polite. It's not being seductive.
No, but if you call a call centre or something like that, yeah, they usually hire women, and because they have pleasant voices. If someone's angry and they talk to a woman, she can kind of calm the man down.
Yeah, but they don't get excited sexually.
They do.
Well, phone sex lines then. It's anonymous, you don't see the person.
Well, phone sex lines, they're talking about sex.
No, a lot of guys.
Why is it always women then?
If you speak to a
because men aren't going to call men. Men aren't going to really call men if they're straight, are they? they're going to call women.
But so the
That's
voice
the
is
most stupidest point.
even a disembodied female voice is seductive, then even the kuffar
Yeah,
agree.
because if you hear a woman,
No, it can be seductive.
if she has a nice voice, you can automatically try to
Okay,
pitch her
so
face.
this is the question, and answered from me. I'm not quoting from any book.
Yeah.
I'm giving you my opinion on it. Okay, so if it would be your business, so you shouldn't do it. You know, you shouldn't bring some lady to be speaking on the phone. But now, because you are applying for a job, or you are speaking to Empower or British guys, so definitely there will be some lady. So can you do it? So you have to protect yourself from thinking, but there is not any other option. You know.
Okay.
Okay, but if Empower would be your, so then you shouldn't do so.
No,
you shouldn't bring the ladies.
What I'm asking is, in that situation, over the telephone, is the voice still counted as an aura?
Yeah, we'll say yes. It is yes.
If it's seductive.
Yeah, I mean,
The seductiveness is aura, not the voice by definition.
well, he said
No,
it is a
look.
seductive. It's
Now,
seductive.
just
No,
take it.
yeah.
Just take it as it is. It's two scenarios. Once you gave call and there is some lady, but she's speaking a very official voice, you know.
Yeah.
And the second time, someone says, "Oh,
Yeah.
who are you?"
Yeah,
so
that's-
it makes a difference, you know.
Yeah, that's the point. That's
Okay.
the point.
So
It's the quality.
yes. So I say. So what we said, you know, that melodic thing as well as soft voice. If she's beautifying it, that is aura only. But if she's speaking on normal level, it is not an aura. Does make sense?
We call that in a seductive voice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not to make her
Yeah,
voice
yeah.
to
Yeah.
But if it's natural,
If it's
Someone
natural,
should
yeah,
OBT
we say fine.
at least you
I mean, if you
Unless
get
if it is very attractive voice,
because
then she should.
if that was normal, there would be no such thing as sex lines. They'll just phone BT and British Gas. You know, that's the thing. There is obviously a distinction
No,
there.
that's what
People do that.
No, so come on, maybe you got to change your friends, man.
In Saudi,
The Sheikh's taught this. It's called as a forest gate taught this.
Okay, so what is the next? The next is, so alhamdulillah we have finished everything related to the aura of the lady towards man. Okay, so we have spoken about face and palms, okay, feet as well as voice, yes.
Why people that say that the voice of a woman is straight haram, what evidence do they use?
I don't know, but what I think it's mainly the some certain groups within Hanafi Mazhab. I say they are using maybe their cultural understanding maybe.
Because the Salafi is Awra. The Salafi say it's Awra.
Within Hanafi Mazhab. Salafis also say that, yes. Yeah, but it's very strange because we have so many hadith from the Sahabiyat, you know. If voice would be Awra, there wouldn't be any single hadith.
Also, wasn't there a female companion, Sahabiya, that told Umar off?
Yeah. No, it's many occasions.
And he would have said, "Shush." The woman's voice
Exactly,
down, but he didn't say it.
exactly. Yes. So many conversations. For example, Salman al-Farsi coming to visit Abu Darda and speaking with his wife, you know. Okay, or asking, "Where is your husband?" She would reply back saying, "Okay, he went to bring water." Okay, it happened with when Abu Bakr and Umar and Rasulullah came to visit some of the Ansari Sahaba. So he wasn't there, but his lady opened the door. They said, "Welcome," but Fulan, my husband, is bringing. So it's many. So it's very strange actually. But mainly, I think it's mainly traditional understanding.
So she invited in.
So Abu Bakr and Umar and Rasulullah, they went in. And that Sahabi was not there. Now, inshallah, you are going to see one of the things in free mixing. In Hanafi Madhab, we say if there is 2 or more men with one lady, it's not free mixing, prohibited free mixing. Inshallah, you are going to see that, inshallah. Then, what about the aura of the lady towards her relatives? What we call as Mahram. What is the meaning of Mahram? Mahram is, it is the couples who never can get married. it's prohibited for them to get married anytime. Okay, so it is our mothers, our sisters, our aunties, our daughters, our stepdaughters, and etc. As well as our milk mother and milk sisters and milk aunties also. Okay, but what about, for example, my brother's wife? I cannot marry her. Is she my mahram then? We say no. So prohibition of the marriage should be permanent, not temporary.
They can't marry, even if the...
No, right now she's married.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, so prohibition should be permanent.
But if he divorces?
Yeah. After the iddat, yes.
Okay.
After the iddat period, yes. So, mahram, meaning of mahram, it is men and women who are prohibited permanently to marry each other. So these are the mahrams. Okay. So it will include, according to Hanafi Mazhab, the mother and the daughter of the lady with whom someone committed zina. So even them are going to be the mahrams. Okay. So what about the awra of the mahram? For example, let's suppose that me and my sister, does she have to cover everything besides the face and palm? So in Hanafi Madhab we say the awra of the mahram lady towards her relatives, mahram relatives, is the same awra as man, okay, from the belly button till the knees, including the tummy and the same place, back. Sides also included, and chest and top, as well as knees and underneath is not included. So that is awra of the relatives, between relatives in Hanafi Madhab.
I didn't get that right.
So now, for example, let's suppose that I will go and to visit my auntie, and she was breastfeeding. So does she have to cover up herself? In Hanafi we say no.
Okay.
Because breasts are not awra, because awra starts from the belly, tummy, belly, chest is not included, and top. So from the belly up to the knees. So that is the awra in Hanafi Madhab, the mahrams. Okay? And so sides are included also. So always there is awra. So shoulders and like the hairs, etc. is not included into the awra.
Is that all relatives?
Yes, anyone that you cannot marry. So it's not your cousins. Yeah.
Marry.
Because you can marry your cousins. Yeah.
Is it makruh?
Tanzihan could be, yes. There is no any karaha there. It's permissible, perfectly fine.
Sheikh, you mentioned cousins. Have you heard of a narration? I think it's variously attributed to some people say it's from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some people say it's Umar, where he says marry from afar to avoid. Is it Umar?
Yeah.
Did he say that?
No, it's because it used to be tried for many generations. They would marry off to each other, So because of that, he made that statement. Or otherwise, we have hadith in which Rasulullah says, one of the signs of Yawm al-Qiyamah, in which person will not marry his paternal uncle's daughter, but he will go to marry some stranger, as it's happening now. So Rasulullah didn't welcome that, So from here we understand that marrying cousins, first cousins, not prohibited. There is nothing wrong. But there could be some tanzih. Tanzih means better to not do when several generations will be engaged to each other. Just because of physical things. Or Islamically there is nothing wrong with it.
So there's no narration from Rasulullah himself that says cousin marriage produces weak offspring, because we know that kind of now.
It's from Umar radiallahu anhu. He is the one who said, "Oh, Fulani tribe, now may off your daughters to the strangers because you became very weak." It is Umar. He is the one who mentioned.
Now that we know that marrying cousins increases disabled children. What's the fatwa with this?
There will not be any fatwa. I have looked into the statistics, so he said that disability in normal circumstance, it's only 3% out of 100, but when relatives will get married, so it will be 5%. So the difference is not that big,
It's not big enough.
Yeah.
I think what Adam's referring to, you probably know, when I lived in the Northwest, we have because the cousin marriage is what Umar described, is generation after generation. So in my family, everyone is marrying, not just like one-off, all the time, every time, 90%. So then we get very high statistics, but if you just do sometimes, it's exactly, I think it's exactly 5%. Like
I remember that. So, but anyway, Islamically there is no any prohibition, but we say, as Umar radiallahu anhu said, if it will go for several generations, then there could be some karaha. Again, it's not sin. but we say it would be better to not to.
So we can't say it's preferable to marry someone from far.
Look, mubah things, the permissible things, sometimes could be rewardable or non-rewardable according to your intention. For example, going to America, is it, for example, haram or not? I say it's mubah. It's mubah. But then sometimes that mubah can become rewardable. Why? Because I'm going to visit my relative, my father. Or it could be sinful because I'm going to visit some, non-father. So mubah can become, but it depends on your intention. So your intention can convert mubah into rewardable and non-rewardable thing. Okay, now, so that is the awra of the Mahram. And then we have another statement in Hanafi Mazhab which is very badly abused. Okay, mainly by Hizb ut-Tahrir brothers. We Hanafis say anything is permissible to look at, permissible to touch, except the young lady, young non-mahram lady. Okay, so for example, it's permissible for men to look at the shoulder of a man. Means it's permissible to touch his shoulder also, to give massage, for example. Okay, with the condition that they shouldn't be sexual desire. But what about the young stranger lady? We say even without that risk is not permissible to touch. So we say shaking the hand is not permissible with young stranger lady, but you can do it with your relatives as well as with very old lady who normally doesn't have sexual, you can say, activities.
What about at work? When you shake hands with women at work?
No, time to time it happens to us. In Hanafi Madhab it's not permissible, but sometimes you will fall into the situation in which some lady comes and shaking. So what do? So if you have some chocolate in your hand, just to give it, but then it's not permissible. I remember one of them, she became Muslim because it was just, you can say, brothers for dawah, and she was missionary lady. She actually shook the hand of everyone, but the person, the young man who came to give her dawah, he didn't shake her hand and he did this only. Okay, so it was very effective dawah because maybe she had problem with her boyfriend or with her husband. So what did she say? She said, I was so deeply affected because I thought if his religion doesn't allow him even to touch the hand, so he's not going to do even anything further,
Yeah.
So she was very deeply affected.
But Sheikh, in a corporate,
It happens very rarely, yes.
Yeah, it's
Normally they find it offensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to be wise enough.
So what did you do? You put mayonnaise on your hand.
Well, you can clearly tell that my religion doesn't allow that.
Yes. So you have to be wise enough.
So is there evidence to say? Isn't there evidence to say that the Prophet gave bay'ah, shook hands?
No. Shaking bay'ah is there, but shaking the hand in bay'ah is not what we understand, So bay'ah is different to shaking the hand. Yeah. So with the man he would shake the hand, but with the woman.
But the hand is not Awra, so why can't you touch it?
No, so that's what I'm trying to say. Shaking, anything that is permissible to look at, permissible to touch, except with the young stranger lady.
But this is added on.
Which one?
This young stranger lady.
No. It is same. It is just to complete the text, to complete the principle. So, but Hizb ut-Tahrir brothers, they did read the principle up to the except, and except they just thrown it out, and then they said, according to Hanafi Mazhab, it's permissible to shake the hand with the young lady.
Did they mean that as an insult, or did they mean that as permissibility?
Permissibility.
Oh.
They didn't mean to insult us, no. They just were going to issue fatwa, which is maybe to make the case easy.
They are Hanafi as well.
Sorry?
They are Hanafi as well.
No.
So if you don't have sexual desire for a woman, you can shake her hand.
No. If you do not have sexual desire towards your relatives or towards a man or towards old ladies, then you can shake the hand. But with young men, there is no any condition. So condition of sexual desire is only with relatives, man and old lady.
Can I just say he did what you warned about at the start? He just took a hadith of Rasulullah and then made a principle based on that one hadith. He didn't respect the methodology of the madhabs. So it's like an illustration of what you were warning against there, actually.
Okay, so that's about the question. And then maybe the last two things before we move on to the next topic. Again, as I said, the awra of the professional ladies, as I said, if she needs to uncover her arm, in Hanafi is permissible only during the period when she works, only. And after that it becomes to the normal, when she needs to cover it up. One thing. And the second thing is, we said that awra of two ladies amongst themselves between belly button to the knees, as we said before. But then we said it's only with the pious Muslimah lady. So with non-Muslimah lady or with Muslim but non-pious, she needs to cover up everything, as we said before. Okay. The next is wearing clothes. So there is fard clothing, and there is wajib clothing, and then there is mustahab, and then haram and makruh tahriman and makruh tanzihan. So many types. So all of that is according to Imam Abu Hanifa and Hanafi Mazhab. So first thing, as I said, fard clothing is to cover up that much which is agreed upon that it is awra. Okay. And the next is wajib. We said it is limbs that you have to cover up because of the fitna. So it's mainly applicable on the face of the lady or the shoulders and the chest of man. Okay. But then if some man is very handsome, so does he have to cover up? Is it wajib? We say no. Because face of man doesn't affect that much as his chest and shoulders can affect. It is two different things. And then mustahab clothing. What do you think? What's mustahab?
Suitable is been allowed.
Sorry?
Suitable is been allowed.
I would say that's mubah, but mustahab is you are rewarded actually. So we say mainly black and white colors are mustahab, okay, recommended. The haram one, the haram clothing, the first is to wear something which is not covering you properly, covering your awra properly, only the awra, okay, for man and women. So that is haram, first thing. The second thing, the clothes which you can see through, okay. But then question, what's the meaning of you being able to see through? Is it like tight clothes which describes your the body, the shape of your body, or is it something that you can see through actually? We say the second one. But what about the first one? So some tight clothes which is describing your awra places. We say that is makruh tahrima. Tahrima. Yeah. But then, isn't it that even whatever you wear, where in some certain position it will describe your body, when you're sitting on, when you will go to ruku', when you're moving, we say it shouldn't describe you when you are standing in normal position. Okay? So, but definitely any cloth will describe your body in some certain position, you know, if you sit or if you, but in when you're standing normally, it should not describe your body.
Most of the pants are describing.
Sorry?
Most of the pants are describing.
No, if it is very tight one, yes. So it shouldn't be something which is stretched on your body.
It should be flowing.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So it should. Yeah.
Is there any hadith that says it can't be skin tight?
Sorry?
Is there a hadith that says it can't be skin tight?
Which is
Tight. Yeah. Is there a hadith that says it can't be tight?
I don't know about this. They could be, they may not. I don't know. I'm quoting from the Fatwa. And the same thing is about the women also, the ladies. So they shouldn't be wearing clothes which is describing the shape of the body. The next is, third haram cloth is, it shouldn't be some cloth which is the sign of some certain religion. Okay, for example, do you know, rabbis wear some turban, black turban. So that will be haram. Hat. But then there are many other types of hats, you know. We say any hat which is not the sign of some certain religion, we say fine. So it's only black hat. But then that hat should be, with that, you know, holding thing should be very wide, isn't it? But if it's just short and like that, we say it's not haram. Okay? But what about, now no one is wearing that rabbi's hat for religion, but it became fashionable. We say now it came down one level, now it's makruh tahrima. But if it would be only religious sign and no one else wears it for any other reason, we say that would be haram.
Makruh tahrima.
Tahrima.
Tahrima, is that sin?
Sin.
Sin.
Sin. But if someone says it's not haram, it's not kafir.
When it's haram, you said?
Sorry?
When it is haram, you said?
If it is on a sign of a religion, only. But if it is fashionable also, we say now it's makruh tahrima, not haram.
By fashionable, do you mean, you know, t-shirts with printing?
For example, cross.
No. If it's any other printing, I don't know, let's say a car, picture of a car on a t-shirt, or anything.
Dinosaur.
Is that allowed? Or?
So we're going to that.
Say again?
We're going to that point.
Okay.
So far we're talking about the haram things.
So hats, we are allowed to be a hat.
It's makruh tahrima. So it's not haram, but now became makruh tahrima because now it's no more religious sign, but it is, everyone wears it, you know, just fashionable.
So it's makruh
tahrima, yes, not haram. Okay. So, but what about there is? Do you know that black turban of rabbis? You know, have you seen?
Yeah.
It's like fur, you know.
Cowboy hat.
Yeah. But then no one wears that except rabbis. So we say that is still haram. But if after 10 years people will start wearing it just for fashion, we say now it becomes makruh tahrima. Okay, so the main principle is ma amma khaffa. Anything spreads widely decreases. The level will be decreasing. Haram from haram to makruh, from makruh tahrima to makruh tanzih.
I heard in the past the laws accepted hat as a sign of fraud, isn't it? So now it's changed. We can be
because now Hollywood stars, they wear it, or even just average people, they're still wearing it. You know, now it's no more religious sign. The next is the silk cloth for the man, except if it is. For example, one line, for example, let's suppose that here is my cloth. I wear it. It's cotton, it's not from the silk. Okay, but then let's suppose that this is silk. You see, it always down, all of that is silk, you know. So then we have to measure. If it is less than 4 fingers width, we say it is permissible. But if it will be more than 4 fingers in the width, so it will be like that, so we say that it becomes haram. Okay.
tie.
Same question, silk tie, yeah.
Okay, what do you think?
I was hoping yes, it's allowed. But that's from nafs, not knowledge.
We say tie in itself is... Okay, so I'm saying I don't know. Because we have a text in which it says, do you know that belt? Do you know the belt of the shalwar?
Yeah.
You know, so if that is from silk in Hanafi Madhab, that will be valid, permissible. Okay, but then you can say that belt is part of the trousers, but tie is separate clothing itself.
Yeah, separate.
Okay, so Allah Alam, before I used to think that it's not permissible because it's separate. Okay, but anyway, that's the thing. So I say I don't know, but before I was 100% confident that it is not permissible.
Just normal tie or just
Anytime.
So no more tie is allowed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now you do not find silk tie, you know, because now there is synthetic silk. Now they use synthetic silk, which is fine.
So silk is prohibited
Yeah.
for men.
No. You are talking about
Tie.
No, I said before I used to hold a position that is no. But then in Hanafi Mazhab we have a statement in which we say if it's belt, silk belt, then it's permissible.
So tie is okay?
No, so I say so it's controversial actually.
Okay.
So you cannot compare it to the belt because belt is part of the trousers. But tie is proper cloth, separate.
So you can have it as a belt, but not as a tie.
So it's
So you can use your tie as a belt, yes, silk tie as a belt.
So we can say it's dangerous.
It's better to stay away.
So
I don't know.
why is there qualification for that?
It shouldn't be cloth. Silk cloth in itself is prohibited. But we say anything less than 4 fingers. You know, for example, I have this. So width should be less than 4 fingers, even if it's always down. All of that is silk. In Hanafi Madhab, we say fine.
But my tie is less than 4 fingers.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to say.
So it's okay.
Because no. Do you know this is part of my qamis, but tie is not part of my qamis. It is separate cloth.
Complete silk.
So
It's 100% silk, the tie, isn't
For
it?
clothing, you can't have it. You
Yes.
can have it. I can't get confused.
No, so that's what I'm saying. Before I used to say it's haram.
Full stop.
Yes. Yeah, but now I say I don't know because I found the text in Hanafi Madhab in which it said that silk belt is permissible. Yeah.
But you said we're not like silk, but we're like synthetic. But isn't that same as imitation? Isn't that imitating something which is
No.
Is that imitating the kuffar?
No, because polyester, he's right, it was designed as a cheap silk. So, you know, if you can't afford tights from silk, for example, you have the polyester synthetic one.
Yeah.
So it's meant to be like silk, same purpose. Same, you know, like...
Yeah, but it's not silk.
It's not silk, but it's meant to be silk.
So what? So what?
So can man wear fake gold then? Fake gold
Yeah,
watch?
you can wear fake
No, metal is not only silver.
Only silver.
Only silver. Yeah.
So why is silk prohibited in the first place?
It's because there is hadith. Rasulullah said anyone who wears silk in this dunya, he doesn't wear it in your in paradise.
Sheikh, the tie is not really clothing, is it?
So what is that?
Can you buy sweet?
It's for decoration, it's not for clothing. Yeah, it's not clothing. Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
No. They wear it.
I'm not talking about anything else. No,
it's
Sheikh.
fashion. Yeah. I saw it.
Yeah, but they're Chippendales. There's dodginess.
Sheikh, most of the luxury fabrics today, sometimes they'll say, you know, like a nice suit, they'll say 90% wool, 10% silk, 20%. So if it's how to know the 4 fingers rule, because sometimes it's even, I had one, I accidentally bought a suit for work and it was very expensive and I found out it was 40% silk.
Okay.
So how to work out the 4
So
fingers?
there are 2 things. There are 2 things. One is showing silk. Okay, so it is decoration on top of. So this is the one. And in one place, just it goes always down. So that should be less than 4 fingers. Even if it is in many other places, always going down. We say fine. But what about it is mixed inside? So we say then we look. Fabric normally is very long thing. So fabric. What is the fabric? It is threads, which is just combined like that. So now we say if the thread, which is the long one, if that is silk, so we have to look into what's in the width. So we classify the fabric on what lies on the width, So if on the length, the thread which is on the length is silk, but what is lying on the width is different, we say it's permissible, even if it is 50-50. But if it is other way around, so the long thread is non-silk, but the width one is a silk one, then we say that is haram.
We can identify.
Where does the 4 fingers come from?
Sorry?
Where does this 4 fingers?
There is hadith, Umar radiallahu anhu says, anyone who is wearing cloth, silk cloth, so that is haram, except something that you have as 1 finger width, or 2 or 3 or 4. hadith from Umar radiallahu anhu.
What about?
I'm sorry, and also we say the 4 fingers of Umar radiallahu anhu is something like 1 hand span.
Also in this country it's very common now.
Sorry?
The shoes. Pork leather. Pig leather.
Pig leather.
In the shoes.
It's not permissible.
It's not permissible, is it? Because they mix inside. I mean, many friends buy that. They don't know it.
It's not allowed yet.
No. But if it is any other animal, we say fine.
What's the hadith about your own food?
No, Allah says, innahu rijs.
It's najis, isn't it?
Yeah, so Allah says it's rijs. So all of the pig is rijs. Allah says, وَلَحْمَ الْخِنْزِيرِ إِنَّهُ rijs. And do not touch the meat of the khinzir because it is rijs. So, what does it mean? Prohibition, rijs, I mean filth. Is it referring to the meat of pig or is it referring to the pig? Where Hanafi said it is pig.
Doesn't the verse say flesh?
It is in ayah,
Does it say flesh?
Yeah. Means do not eat the meat of the pig because it's filth.
I think that's saying meat.
Yeah. So we say in Arabic language, so innahu is referring, normally in Arabic language, it will be referring to the closest thing to it. Innahu lahnul khinzir, the meat of the pig, because it is, what is it? It's referring to the closest one. So meat is a further and pig is the closest one. So we say it is, pig in itself is filth. So anything of pig is filth.
Actually, I investigated this in terms of shoes.
Yeah.
Because majority of shoes in UK, including trainers, they use pigskin, especially even the very expensive shoes. On the inside they use pigskin.
Okay.
It's a big job. Every time you want to buy a shoe, you have to email and say. So in the opinion of Hanafi,
It's not permissible.
not permissible.
Normally I buy it from
Leather.
Clark's. And in
Yeah.
Clark's you can just ask them, so they can straight away give you the answer.
They can give straight away.
Straight away, yeah. So it is in the thing, in the system.
Clark's, so Clark's basically will give you the details. Which one is out.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway. Also, the 5th haram thing to wear is gold for men. That's it. So these are the prohibited clothing. And the next,
Sheikh, can I ask a really silly question? What about diamonds for men? Because nowadays people like to show off and have diamond watch, diamond earrings. It's allowed diamonds.
Yeah, so stones are permissible, but if it is metallic things, then it should be only silver. Yeah, but they're not earring, but only the, the stone of the silver ring could be diamond or anything else. But bracelets and other things, haram, not permissible.
So watches, diamond watch? Not that anyone here is rich enough, I think.
Diamond watches, because watches, if you take it, to wear it for the watches is permissible, but as for decoration or as for like a bracelet, it's not permissible. So diamond watch, it will prove that you're not wearing it for clocks, but you're wearing it for So then it's not. The next is makruh tahriman clothing. So because now we're describing the Islamic clothing, am I right? So from here we understand that there is no such understanding which is Islamic clothing. So for example, what I wear, this one, we say it is Arabic traditional, but we do not call it as Islamic. Okay? So then he says, makruh tahriman, ثياب الشهرتين. Rasulullah forbidden us from the 2 extreme clothing. One is the extra, one is too low. Extra is very expensive, and too low is very cheap, or very, you can say, clothes which normally no one wears, very cheap and that. So it should be made. So both of them are makruh tahrima. Okay. So what would be the most expensive clothing now?
There is a brand called Billionaire, where like a pair of jeans cost like £10,000.
Okay. So that would be makruh tahrima. Okay. And very cheap one is sorry?
Consensus. Primark.
Yeah, so it's very decomposed clothes, So like Darwishi clothes.
We're not saying Primark is decomposed, it's been filmed, That's not what it means,
The next is the cloth which is the sign of disobedient people. So this is makruh tahriman. But if it would be sign of religious people, I mean sign of some religion, it would be haram. But sign of disobedient people is makruh tahriman. But what about if it becomes fashionable? Then we say, then it is permissible. Okay, for example, you know rockers or drug dealers, let's say they have metallic things, you know. So if this style of clothing belongs to them only, then it's makruh tahriman to imitate them. But then if it becomes fashionable for everyone, we say now it's fine. So according to this, wearing jeans and wearing all of that things, we say that's fine. That will be permissible.
This is a traditional opinion of a Hanafi school. It's not a modern.
No. I'm quoting from the traditional books. Sure. You have got the references.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is in each single book, you know. But because we have been requested to give the exact pages, so I did quote only from one book, or otherwise it's in each single Hanafi book.
Yeah.
When you said the very cheap clothes, what kind of example?
Cheap means when people will see you, they will find you miserable.
Like rags, I think. Rags, you know, like torn and dirty. And
So Rasulullah says, لَيْسَ لِلْمُؤْمِنِ أَنْ يُذِلَّ نَفْسَهُ. Muslim doesn't have a right to disrespect himself. So you shouldn't disrespect yourself by wearing that type of clothes.
Like the priests, like for other religions, they wear like, you know, what you're wearing. So is that what you said not to copy other religions?
That will be makruh tahrim, that will be haram.
So
do you know, for example, Pope, they have red strange clothing, am I right?
Yeah.
So that clothing will be haram. Unless if it becomes fashionable, then we say it becomes makruh tahrim.
And like the priests, they wear the white robe. Fully white, like just like how, you know, some of our brothers wear it. It's the same. And isn't that like copying them, or is it different?
So that white clothing, is it exactly similar?
Yeah, so it's just like a robe, like how...
I would say it shouldn't be, because white clothing is Arabian clothing also. So people do not wear it for religious purpose, for Christian religious purpose, am I right?
I don't know. Because they're the top people in their religion.
Because as far as I know, their style of clothing, so it will be yellow, I saw the Pope, but then there will be something hanging, you know? Do you understand? So that will be haram, yes. Wearing that cloth will be haram, yes.
So Sheikh, I'm sure someone's going to ask, what about the people who say that, imitating the kuffar, you are one of them, they use that, I think it's a hadith, and they say, for example, dressing in a suit, dressing in jeans you mentioned, so you are imitating the kuffar, and you should only wear like, as you say, Arab clothes.
So basically, there are two answers. So if you are following Quran and Sunnah, then there is hadith in Muwatta of Imam Malik, in Shamal al-Tirmidhi, in which it says that Rasulullah used to wear Qatari clothes, and in different narration Ethiopian clothes, and in different narration, which is in Azhar of Imam Muhammad, authentic hadith also, it says that Rasulullah used to wear Roman clothes. Okay, so Qatari people in that time, they used to be Zoroastrians, worshipping the idols. Ethiopians, they used to be Christians, and Yemenis are Jews, you know, and Roman Empire worshipping the idols, you know. So it's imitating them. So it's not prohibited to look like them in each single thing. Okay, but there are some signs of them. Okay, so that is a prohibited thing. So for example, even I know, for example, some of the Salafi scholars, he has 2 pockets, you know, as well as he has 2 watches all the time. Why? Because Saudi government and the disobedient people have 1 pocket, so he's opposing the disobedient, so he has 2 pockets. Okay, and then he has 2 watches. Why? Because to have only 1 watch, so that is only 1 watch, so it's the sunnah of the Western people. So you can put it on your left or right, and each of them is some son of someone. So he did put on 2. Okay, it's very famous. Mhmd of Azhar, he passed away recently. So I remember one of my friends told me, was saying, he said, then why he doesn't have 2 pockets in his shoes also? because that's also Western thing, you know. But shoes with pockets, it's not.
So when you ask him what time is it, does he go like this?
Exactly, yeah. So we say imitating the kuffar only in two things. One is religious sign, and the second is the sign of some disobedient group. Only them two. And anything besides that, we say is perfectly fine.
Check your religious sign, that practical example, that for example, the cross. So first, the cross was haram.
Now it's makruh tahriman, yes. So even we do have in al-hadiyya al-ala'iyya, I want to just read the text, so you will have an idea about Hanafi Mazhab. So he says, وَلِلْإِنسَانِ أَنْ يَلْبَسَ النَّعْلَ الْأَسْوَدِ وَالْمَخْصُوص بِمَسَامِيرِ الْحَدِيدِ كَالْكِنْدْرَ وَالْكَالُوشِ. So he says, it's permissible for the Muslim to wear the black clothes as well as the clothes which, you know, that metallic thing, needles underneath, because it used to be the French style in their time, the time of the author. So then he says all of that is permissible. He says من غير كراهة, without any prohibition, لأن صورة المشابهة فيما يتعلق به صلاح العباد لا يضر, because imitating the non-Muslims on something which is improving the lifestyle of the people, there is nothing wrong with it. Okay, so you are wearing some hot, for example, coat, which is Western. We say it's improving your lifestyle. We say fine. Yeah. So that's the main thing. You can find this text in the book of Hadiyya Ala'iyya, page number 331. And then the next third type of makruh tahriman clothing is to release your clothes underneath of your ankles with the intention of arrogance. But with no intention of arrogance, in Hanafi Mazhab we say fine. It's makruh tanzihan, means there is no sin, but there could be risk of you getting your clothes filthy, because it will hit the ground, you know. But if there is no that risk, for example in the UK, because it's all the time raining, okay, so we say then there is no wrong anyway in Hanafi Mazhab. So we say the prohibition is only related to the arrogance. Okay, you are long thing, clothes, which is underneath of your ankle.
What about the ladies? I mean, they're always wearing long, and sometimes it's najis. Sometimes outside it's najis.
Outside?
Yeah. I mean,
no, there is no najasa.
No, I mean in the country, for example.
The dirt.
Yeah,
it's dirty.
When they're walking.
Nothing wrong with it.
No, dogs, maybe because of the dogs.
They're going, for example, toilet. There's a big toilet. They're walking inside. So
yeah. So only in that case you have to watch. But in the streets, just because dogs are walking, it doesn't make everywhere to be filthy. So only when you see a dog urinating in one place, so only that place is going to be filthy till you will get sun shining, so it will dry up, or you will get rain, you know, so it will clean it up again. So in the UK we have both of the conditions. So the ground is not filthy in the UK.
But what about, for example, big toilets? They are walking inside.
Yeah. So
sometimes even we are curving our pants.
Yeah, we do it. But so it's for example, let's suppose in some service station I've stopped and I'm going to the toilet. So if it is dry, then we say fine, even if your clothes is touching. But if it is wet, then it's not haram again, because just some wetness, we say certainty is never destroyed by doubt. Certainty that it is clean, because you know that what do they call that, ground in itself is clean, but that water may be urine, so that doubt. So certainty is not destroyed by doubt. But then certainty will go by another certainty, which is you find smell, okay, or you find color, or you find sign that it is filth actually. So then you have to be careful then. So it's very, so that's the case. Then he says, again, to wear any clothes out of arrogance or to show off that you are better than others, so that's also makruh tahriman also. And we have another issue in which we do have controversial opinion, makruh tahriman. Some say that it's makruh tahriman to wear the red colored clothes. Some of the Hanafi scholars say that it is makruh tahriman. But the official Hanafi position, we say it will be makruh tahriman by one of two reasons. In the past, they used to color the cloth into the red color by using blood, animal blood. So only then it used to be prohibited. That's one reason. And the second reason, it used to be the sign of women. Once Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu saw some young man wearing red clothes. So Ibn Umar said, don't wear it, leave this color for the women. But now red color is not the sign of women, am I right? Okay, so then makruh tahriman will be to use the color, to wear the color which specifically belongs to the women.
So pink. Yeah.
So then that will be makruh tahriman.
But today men wear pink.
Okay.
Actually,
so then
it's difficult.
Yeah. So it should be something which specifically belongs to man, or specifically belongs to someone who is misguided or disobedient group. Only then it is makruh tahrim, not haram.
So red is not anymore.
No, red is, because even there is a red suit which looks very like masculine, you know. So we say red is normal. As well as wearing the black color because of the death of someone is also makruh tahriman in Hanafi Mazhab, except for the lady mourning her husband only for 3 days. After 3 days, she has to put it down. She shouldn't wear the black color. And as anyone beside that, it will stay makruh tahriman. For example, my grandfather passed away, so I will wear black color for him for 3 days or more. All of that is makruh tahriman. Okay.
So mourning clothing.
Sorry?
So to wear black when someone dies is
prohibited, makruh tahriman, except for the lady mourning for her husband. Only 3 days, for 3 days. And also the last makruh tahriman thing is to wear very tight clothes which is describing the shape of the body. But what about if you can see through? We say then it's haram. Yeah?
Sheikh, a question. Some people say that your salah is not valid if you're wearing tight clothes, and
we say makruh tahriman.
So salah is valid?
Valid, yes, but it's makruh tahriman.
Even if you can see, because I think, especially with our Salafi brothers in London, this is a big issue. But if you go and pray salah, say for example how he's dressed, they'll say not valid because you can see the backside and things like this. No?
Unless if you can see through.
Oh, okay.
Do you know there are some clothes in which you can see through? But seeing through should be the Awra part only. Okay. But what about Awra part is perfectly blocked, but then I'm wearing t-shirt in which you can see through my chest. We say fine. So it should be Awra part. And then makruh tanzihan. What's the meaning of makruh tanzihan? It's better to not to do, but if you do, you're not sinful. It means it's recommended to not to do. So the first is you are wearing very long clothes, which is going below your ankles, but without intention of arrogance. We say that's makruh tanzihan. But with intention of arrogance, it's makruh tahrim. And the second is to be wearing expensive clothes all the time. Okay, but you should wear decent clothes for certain occasions. We are going for the celebrations, etc. It is sunnah to wear expensive clothes, but to wear it all the time, we say it's makruh tanzihan. Why? Because it will hurt the feeling of the rich people, because they cannot afford it. Or otherwise, to wear it time to time is sunnah of Rasulullah. Okay, so let's have short break. Okay, so we have 2 more topics actually. I don't know, will have enough time or strength also. So one is pre-mixing, and the last topic is about professions. So, okay, so let's see what we can do. In terms of pre-mixing, if each of you can give me some understanding that you have, when we say this pre-mixing is not allowed, what do we mean?
Khalwa.
Khalwa, what does it mean?
When a man and woman are in seclusion.
Okay, good. Anything else?
Many men together.
Okay, that's also prohibited. Okay, good.
What comes to my mind is in some countries where, for example, they have said that there should be separate queue in the supermarket, women's queue, men's queue, and women walk on this footpath, men walk on that path, this kind of thing.
You know, in terms of that thing, even in the time of Rasulullah ﷺ, it used to be only one market, you know. Men, women would go to the same market actually. Okay, so then being together, it's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. So okay, so anyway, let's have a look in Hanafi position. Okay, so what I will be reporting is basically spread everywhere in Hanafi books. Okay, but you can take as a reference, it is book called Hadiyya ala Iyam. There's only one volume, and it's page number 281, and it is the summarized version of Fatawa Shamia, as well as you can find it in the Sharh of Tariqa Muhammadiyya by Abdul Ghani Nabulsi, the volume number 5, and the page will be something about 252. So whatever I will be reporting, so these are the books, or otherwise it's everywhere. It is everywhere. Whatever I'm saying, it's everywhere in Hanafi books. So first of all, we say it is makruh tahriman to stay for 2 adults, male and female, in one room where there is no any so there is no access. So when we say access, we mean physical, or you can say cultural access. What's the meaning of physical access? So it is locked, so no one can access it. Or cultural access, no one will go into that room without knocking the door. Okay, so according to that, I am with some young lady, we are sitting in this room and no one is in there. Okay, but in the building there are people. So is it haram free mixing, makruh tahriman, or not? We say if door is locked, then it is makruh. Or if it is on the way, it's one of the conditions of the, you can say, constitutions of the building, that whenever you go into some room, you have to knock the door. We say that is cultural blockage. So we say only by one of them 2 conditions, it will be prohibited.
So we say private area. So it's private.
Yeah. But then that privacy cannot be, you can say, destroyed except by knocking the door or by unlocking the door. That does make sense. So let's suppose that I'm director and I have a secretary. Means that is prohibited, because no one will enter the room without knocking the door. But what about if it's a library, but in the room no one is sitting except me and some lady, and we are reading, but then no one will ask for permission to enter. Anytime anyone can open the door and go into the room. We say
public space.
Yeah, exactly, yes. So you don't need any permission to access that place. We say, according to Hanafi Mazhab, that is not makruh tahriman, that is allowed. That's one thing.
Sheikh, what about in a car?
Okay, so taxi, for example. Yes, so I don't give any fatwa about that, because some say that it's not khulwa. Why? Because people can see you. Windows are open. But from the other side, it's not like room, because you cannot drive the room in some private place somewhere, where no one can go, you know? Yeah, so 2 analogies are opposing each other. So I say I don't know. Wallah. Yes.
Sorry, just a room with a door with a window on this, that's fine.
If people can go without knocking, with no knocking.
But if you could see through the window, you know, in custom,
as well
you
as
still
people
will
are
knock.
walking, yeah.
Like
so
you're the director, secretary, people can see you through the window,
fine.
and they will still knock.
We say fine. So the main important thing, it should be one building where some other people are also, and you are sitting in one room. But what about you are sitting in one room and whole building is empty? Okay, and building is again non-accessible. People. Very rarely they can come. Now we say this is makruh tahriman again.
Not haram, Sheikh.
Makruh tahriman. Okay. Because prohibition came from hadith. And hadith is not qat'i, it's khabar al-ahad. So that's one thing. The second thing.
What's the hadith, Sheikh?
Rasulullah says, there is ما خلا رجل مع امرأة إلا كان ثالثهما الشيطان. Okay, means there is no any man staying with the lady on their own except the third of them will be Iblis. Okay, and in the different narration. لا يخلون رجل مع امرأة إلا كان الشيطان ثالثهما. Let not any man to stay with a lady on their own, except if it will happen. So third of them will be shaitan. Okay. Then in Qunya is one of the Hanafi authentic books. He says, سكن رجل في بيت من دار وامرأة في بيت آخر منها ولكل واحد غلق على حدة لكل باب لكن باب الدار واحد لا يكره. So according to Hanafi Mazhab, it is 1 yard, okay, and there is only 1 gate, okay, but then it is 2 houses, okay, so most likely it's like something like hotel, okay, so in 1 yard there are 2 cottages, for example, but the gate of both of the cottages 1, okay, but so in each cottage there is only 1 person living, men and women. So is it permissible as long as they are living in 1 yard? So there is 1 yard, even if it's 2 cottages. We say if each of them has their own lock in their door, we say that's permissible, even though if they're using the same gate. Okay, the main gate is 1, but it's 2 different buildings inside. Yeah, so that's one thing. And then again in Hanafi Madhab, we say prohibition.
Sorry, so would that example be, say, a hall of residence, where, like in university, where each person in that corridor will have their own doors and locks,
that's what we're talking about,
but yeah, you're sharing the same access to the corridor.
So that is exactly the scenario.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, but then as long as you have your own lock.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like a free door you can go through, you know. Yes, so that's it. So is it the same as hotel also? Am I right? Because 1 gate, but then each of them have their own room. We say fine. In Hanafi Madhab, that is fine. And then, but then when it will be permissible? In Hanafi Madhab, we say 2 or 3 men with 1 lady in the room. We say it is not free mixing. It is not khulwa. Okay, but we say so it is 2 or more. 2 or more, because prohibition came whenever there will be man with a lady. But what about if it's 2, 3 or more? We say fine. Okay, for example, we have so many ahadith in which, for example, Abu Bakr and Umar are going to visit some lady, you know. Okay, so we say that is fine. Okay, but then look, isn't it that if it is like a university living place, if men and women living next to each other, so then they could look. It's not that some lady could be living in New York. I will fly to do whatever, you know. Do you know what I mean? So we are not dealing with the men and women, but what we are dealing when they are just next to each other. Okay, so that's the most important thing. But then, you know, again, there is another thing. Sometimes we may feel that it is something wrong. We say it is our emotions. Okay, and as you, if you remember, I did quote from Quran, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِن يَتَّبِعُونَ إِلَّا الظَّنَّ. Those people are following only their thoughts. Okay, so then the thought was never the source of the religion. Give us the texts, or otherwise don't give me your opinion, because you have your feelings, so I have. Okay, so let's put our feelings aside. Okay, so maybe some of the brothers or some of the Maulanas maybe can think, but can say, how come that I am giving permission that in university they can live together? So person who is going to commit zina, he will do it even if it's 10,000 miles away, you know. But we are talking about the Islamic issue. So then, also we say, in terms of, 2 people in Hanafi Madhab, 2 or more people visiting 1 lady, we say fine. Okay, so we say the minimum permissible amount, it will be 2 adults. 2 adults with 1 lady. We say now it became permissible. Okay, so according to that, for example, it is the office in which 2 people are working with 1 lady. Okay, so according to Hanafi Madhab, it should be permissible, even if the door is locked. Okay, but then we put 1 extra condition, that if it is only 2 people, then they should be practicing people. Okay, but if it is disobedience, so then it will not be permissible for the lady to sit there. But if it's two practicing people, so then we say it's permissible for the lady to go and sit in there. Okay? Yeah?
Sheikh, is that likewise 3 women and 1 man?
That's fine, yes. That's fine, yeah.
As long as there's not 2.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
So, we say, the main thing is makruh tahriman for 2 couples, man and women, to be sitting in one room in which there is no blockage. In where there is, it's blocked. Okay, either physically, so it's locked, or either culturally, so someone needs to knock before getting in. And then we say, but what about, and also they give permission even for, in Hanafi Madhab, for 1 man to be with 1 lady if that man is reliable. Okay, but now we do not give that permission. Okay, for example, we may see in some of the hadith that Umar radiallahu anhu in the night he's going to, knocking in and going into some lady's house. So we shouldn't say that it's prohibited. We say Umar was thiqa. Okay, so let's suppose that Imam Mahdi is coming. Okay, and then he will go to visit 1 lady, 1-to-1. We say fine because Imam Mahdi is thiqa. Okay. So it's very. And then, yeah.
What is sitter?
Sitter?
Thiqa.
Sickly.
Obedient.
Obedient.
Okay, so practicing. Muslim, yeah. Or 1 person with old lady, even if she's not very old, but she's pious lady. We say it is nothing wrong. In Hanafi Mazhab, that is fine. Okay, for example, let's suppose that there is some I had friction with my wife. Okay, and then my wife went to complain to some lady, old lady, and she's wise lady, and she invited me to her house to give me advice. So in Hanafi Madhab, I can go to visit her on my own. Okay, and it's not condition for her to be very old, as long as she's pious and over 50-60 years. Okay, or she is very, you can say, a lady very old or not old, but for example 50 years, but maybe she has some skin condition, very deformed, body, some certain conditions, etc. Or again, in one scenario, let's suppose that some lady cheated me, or she has stolen something of me, or she borrowed some money from me, and she's not returning it back. So now I did catch her, and if I will leave her alone, she will again run away. So in that scenario, in Hanafi Madhab, we give permission to follow her wherever she goes, even if she will be going and locking herself in one room. So it will permit, just to make sure that I'm taking back my money. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
What about shaking hands with the opposite sex?
It's not permissible. We have spoken about it.
We covered it.
Yeah, we have spoken about that. Yes.
Yeah, no, Zam.
Yeah.
It's 2 sections.
Yeah. And also the last thing we say, it is permissible again to stay in one room with your mahrams, with your relatives, except in 2 situations. One is your milk sister, or the second is your mother-in-law, if them you feel sexual desire towards them. Okay, only in these 2 scenarios you cannot sit with your relatives, and any other scenarios you can be next to them. Okay, so this will explain the rest of the cases of segregation.
Sure.
So we say as a minimum 2 men will bring the prohibition up to the level of permissibility. Yes.
Isn't there a specific hadith about men and women eating together?
Yeah, there is hadith. Yeah, no, the Rasulullah actually, if you remember, was it with Abu Talha, most likely Sahabi radiallahu anhu, some person came to Medina, he was stranger. Rasulullah just has sent them to one of the Sahaba. Okay, so then the hosting Sahabi, he was sitting, him and his wife and that guest actually. Okay, so and we say, but there could be some portion of culture. tradition. So from Islamic point of view, there will not be anything wrong as long as there are two men. Okay, except if culturally we do not feel right, then we say we can follow the culture, but without saying it's haram. So it is cultural thing. Okay, so that is the meaning. That's the thing of segregation. But then there is another hadith in which Rasulullah ﷺ says, hadith narrated by Ibn Mas'ud, saying the first problems, fitna, happened in Banu Israel. So they used to go to their synagogues, men and women, but then women, they would be wearing very tall shoes, you know, just to show themselves, you know, just above the segregation, you know. So then Rasulullah said, "Oh people, be noted, do not let your women to do so, because even in synagogues they would be showing their things, etc." So then Rasulullah said, "Akhiruhunna min haythu akhirahunna Allah." Make them to be praying their salat in the back of the masjid, as Allah made them to be sitting in the back. Okay, in terms of when they are praying. Okay, so we say hadith, as you can see in here, is mainly quoting women going to the masajid to show themselves. Okay, but then we say the prohibition will go as soon as there will be two men and one lady. Okay, but what about if lady is showing off herself? I say even if it will be 10,000 ladies, then it will stay as prohibited, because they are doing something different. Because even that would be not in one room, but even in the streets that would be prohibited. So it's nothing to do to be in one room. Okay, so it is generally prohibited to show their bodies and the shape of their bodies. Okay, so that is actually the Hanafi position. Do you have any questions? So it's quite obvious. Yes, please.
In terms of public transport,
yeah,
when we're traveling, sometimes there's free mixing.
Yeah.
So what do we do in that type of situation?
So look, in terms of taxi, I did say I don't know. It's only taxi driver and lady. I said I don't know.
All right.
Okay, but wallah alam, most likely it looks like prohibited.
I was just thinking of also university settings, like where you have like Islamic courses where the women sit at the back and the men sit at the front.
There's nothing wrong with it.
But is it necessary for the women to sit at the back and the men to be?
No. So the most important thing, we say it's even, for example, it's possible. For example, let's suppose that we have men and women sitting next to each other. Okay, because it's husband and wife. Okay. We say fine. Yes.
Sheikh, two things. One, like if you're in a train underground carriage,
yeah.
So there's many men, many women, so
yeah.
That's allowed, isn't it? Because it's like a room.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be that very squeezed, you know, they're touching each
other.
other.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But if it is like very free, you know, so everyone can sit, they have enough room to sit, we say there is nothing wrong with it. But if it is in the morning, you know, like everyone is touching, so I say most likely it should be prohibited, yes.
So Sheikh, let me give you a controversial scenario which everyone will know, especially in university. If you go for an Islamic talk, if I'm with someone, let's say you don't know who it is, could be my sister, wife, girlfriend, no idea, and the person comes through the door and straight away there's some attendant there who says, okay, you brother this side, sister that side.
Okay.
Are they allowed to do that, or must they investigate the relationship, or do they have a right to ask even, you know, if it's my wife, girlfriend, whatever?
No, in terms of thinking bad is haram. ولا تجسسوا إن بعض الظن إثم. Okay. Some of the thoughts are sin, as well as Allah says, لا تجسس, do not spy on each other. I saw you with some lady, I shouldn't follow you to find out is it your girlfriend or is it, you know, it's not permissible. Okay, so most likely the person who is coming to this speech, okay, sister and brother, what? Because you know, two people committing, they will not come, you know, to the speech, you know? And even to the universities also. Okay, yeah, unless if you know that they are not and they are doing some strange things, in that case, very gently you should give some advice. So it is a different thing.
So Sheikh, what would be the position, in your opinion, of a Hanafi position of enforcing segregation? So if I come to a talk, do you have the right to enforce it and say, my wife go and sit there and I sit here?
No,
otherwise,
as you can see, the prohibition of free mixing will be finished if there will be two men and one lady, you know. So that's killed. I mean, the problem of free mixing is killed now.
So that doesn't force. If someone's planning an event, it doesn't mean they're prohibited from having two separate sections.
So yeah, this is what I'm getting at, because there have been cases, as you know, in the UK. Is actually your kind of knowledge on this is very relevant, because there was a case even with a member of parliament where he was invited to a Muslim wedding, and he came with his wife. They're both quite old, and he was told that his wife must go to the women's section and he can go to the men's section, and it was enforced. What would be the ruling on India? I can do whatever I like on a secular basis. I can say Pakistanis this side, Chinese this side. I can do that, but I can't say Sharia. If I was to do the same with men and women and say, let's say you came with your wife to my house, it's my house, am I allowed to say to your wife, back and you here? Can I say, is that allowed?
In terms of when I go to someone's house, it is his right to decide, because he will know what did he prepare, so it is his right. Okay, but in terms of if it is one whole classroom venue, so do I have to make it separate? Because free mixing is killed as soon as there will be 3 people, so that's just gone. Okay, so
because there's a new level of free mixing which is added, because in the West and in as you know, when they say free mixing, they don't mean that there should be, because it's very rare for us to be alone with any woman and lock the door, and it doesn't happen in university school, and it's not allowed actually most of the time. When they talk about free mixing, they mean like we're having this event and no women came, but if a woman came and sat down here, that's what they mean now. This is free mixing, but they mean this is free mixing.
Okay,
and they would say they have a right to say get up, sit there.
Okay, so we say there are 2 things actually. The actual prohibition, I did explain that.
Sure.
As soon as 3, that's gone. And then the second thing, there is culture. We as Hanafis, we respect the custom and culture very highly. Okay, but then going against the culture, it doesn't cause sin, but it scratches your muru'ah. Muru'ah means next time when you give, for example, the testimony, judge may not accept. For example, according to the custom, let's say Maulanas, the scholars, shouldn't be wearing jeans. But if I will wear jeans, okay, so am I committing sin? We say no. But what's happening then? Now my level of testimony falls down. Okay, so in terms of making the women sitting in different place, I say it is most likely it is the matter of custom, which should be respected, which should be followed. But if someone doesn't follow, is it sin? We say it's not sin unless if there is some prohibition. And I said prohibition is killed, finished by having 3 people.
Because forgive me, I'm sure you're getting onto because the custom in because basically this is all about university and business workplace. The custom in UK, as an MP, he made a big complaint, and everyone Islam got a bad name, because the culture of British people is you can't have this separation. Like I can't take your wife and say go over there, because your wife is your responsibility. If I say, okay, your wife is in the kitchen, what if something happens to your wife now? Am I looking after her? No, I'm just saying your wife is over there now, and you can't look after her. So what I would posit, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but what I would say is the problem is that the ada of, if that's the right word, of the British people, for example. I wouldn't say British, but even in my culture in Pakistan, this is considered bad manners. The men and the women, they can sit where they want. So I'm disrespecting that and enforcing and saying, no, my ada is you should be separate. So do you see, it's a clash between, because mainly the people like that will feel disrespected by enforcing that ada. And then you're a bad Maulana because you force the women to go in one section, and you see it's...
Okay, so, but anyway, so there are 2 things actually. One, is a prohibition. According to Hanafis, as soon as it will be 3 people, it's gone.
So no one can say haram.
No.
Okay.
In the beginning, it was makruh tahrim, not haram.
Oh,
so that makruh tahriman, that is gone as soon as there will be 3 people. But in Shafi'i, as far as I know, there has to be more than 3. But in Hanafi, so it is 3. In terms of 2 men as a minimum. But in Shafi'i, more than 3 men as a minimum. Okay, so in Hanafi Madhab we say it's 2 men and 1 lady. But then how they are sitting, it is nothing to do with free mixing, isn't it? It's general thing, you know. So if lady is sitting in front of her father, which is permissible, on very not good proper thing, so that's also prohibited. So it's nothing to do with the free mixing, because free mixing will go as soon as there will be 2 men and 1 lady. That's it. And how they should be sitting on a respectful way, because it's just general thing. It's nothing to do with the free mixing. Do you understand what I mean?
So it would be punishable, or would it be bad in Islam if I said that if the women and the men don't sit separately, this is sinful? Would that be incorrect to say that? It sit separately in a room. So if I said in this lecture, if woman is here, man is here, woman mixed, and if I said this is not allowed, this is sinful, is that correct to say that?
No, obviously not, after what you said.
But this is how it comes across in this country.
Right. So if it is like that, as you're describing, I say it is just general ruling. If they are sitting not in proper way, so then it will be sin. Okay. But just by them being together, no, because they are more than 3.
Because I'm sure if we filmed this, we haven't put the camera on wide, but if there were women sitting in between, this would be a big controversy. People would say,
I'm saying, so there is Islamic prohibition and there is culture. So let's suppose that we are in the culture, not for example English culture. Okay, so it is the audience of new Muslims, white new Muslims. Okay, and according to the white English people, so men and women, you know, they could be sitting, you know, just next to each other, but still it is a respectful way. So we say Islam doesn't put any prohibition on it.
Wow.
It does make sense, as long as it is 2 men and 1 lady as a minimum.
What evidences do these people use to create this segregation?
No, I think it's mainly this hadith. But then I gave the position of Hanafis.
What's the hadith? Sorry.
Hadith, wherever let not 1 man to stay with 1 lady separately.
Yeah, but that's clear. It's 1 man, 1 woman.
But if they will be like that, then 3rd person will be shaitan. So we say, Rasulullah very clearly did mention numbers 1, 2, as well as 3. But what about if it will be 1, 2 man and 3rd is lady? Means 4th is not going to be shaitan. So that's our position.
But what evidence do they use?
No, I think they're using the same thing, but just to expand it, and then understanding and emotions and culture will get engaged, so all of that will give interpretation.
You said you do need to take culture into consideration. So let's say our culture was that man, woman is seen as a really bad thing. Then that would be allowed.
Yes, so we say that is the issue of custom. And issue of custom, opposing the custom is not sin, but it will scratch your reputation actually.
But that doesn't apply here, because in this culture, everybody sits everybody.
No. For example, I would say with white people, yes. But with, for example, Arabians or India, Pakistan and Asian people who are living here, I think that culture is still there. What do you think?
But in a university...
Really. Only if they are inclined, if they are sort of religious, or they're from a sort of Jamaat, or this. But if I go to sort of an Asian home, the husband sits there, the wife sits there, it's normal.
I think, as you said,
they say that it's a religious thing, not culture.
No. Religious.
They don't make this distinction. You're making it very clearly for us.
So,
religious thing I did explain.
That's
1 with 1 lady, 3rd is shaitan. But what about 2 men? 3rd is lady. Is it 4th shaitan? There is no prohibition.
You can have a university lecture hall, and it would be maybe the topic is on economics or whatever. Everyone is mixing. But then in the same lecture hall, the Islamic society will have an event where everyone splits. You know, and we're doing this because of Islam.
What we have,
and that's what comes across. So as a guy,
Chef, what we have
the guys will, you know,
what we have is in the Muslim community we have schizophrenia.
or sexual paranoia.
Yes, schizophrenia. When we're in an Islamic event, everybody splits. They have two different entrances, one for the men and one for the women. Okay, but then in their day-to-day lives, in the same lecture halls, everything's mixed. Hi Jane, how are you doing? It's fine, good. But then when an Islamic lecture, we go into schizophrenia mode. So
and we brother, do not look, it's just all
it's
this
pretending,
whole
it's pretending to be something.
Yeah. Even a barrier like the Berlin Wall will be.
I think the great thing about this talk is the Sheikh isn't kind of addressing these, because this is like our personal feelings. I agree with you guys actually, but he's just giving like the Islamic position, and then he's making a clear difference between culture.
But even for example, let's take it. I'm sorry. Let's take it from my own point of view. I'm not as reporting Hanafi Mazhab, but my own feeling. So I do not feel right to see my mother and my auntie sitting with a man and this. I don't feel right, Okay, but then because I do not feel right, do I have to bring the Islamic thing making up? So it is strange. Do you understand? But so it is just my mentality.
But Sheikh, from what you just said, no one in this country, living in this country, should enforce segregation in a public event.
I say that will be Islamically only permissible if it is in that culture is like that.
But that's the point. We've got generations that are born here, that go to university here, that work here. It's not segregated.
Okay,
all of a sudden.
Okay, in that case, my question is like that. Let's suppose that I'm a university lecturer and I came to the lecture hall and then I found Asian, Indian, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis and Turkish people sitting next to each other. So will I think that these women who are sitting next to the men are disobedience or non-practicing women?
No, you wouldn't.
Does it give that impression?
Not at all.
Means there is no custom of it.
There's no excuse.
Sheikh, I think again you've asked a brilliant question, because if most of non-Muslim people who would see that would say no problem, but they would not see any problem even with if men and women were kissing or touching in lecture halls like used to happen.
Well, no, they would. Bro, that's being a bit.
No, I mean, what he's saying is, would for example, a Muslim person? Most of the Maulanas in this country, they would think bad of you being a witness. So if they saw you sitting with.
He's saying, a non-Muslim lecturer, would he think that person, that sister sitting next to a man, is less Muslim than the one who is not sitting next to us? I don't think we probably do that.
Okay, forget about lecture hall. Okay. Now I'm going to the surgery, and there is a big line of people. So, and there are white ladies sitting, and there is only one chair in which I can sit, which is next to white lady. So if I sit there, will people think about me that I am disobedient?
No.
Means there is no this culture in here.
Not at all.
So then there is no.
They will actually think you are odd, pervert, if you don't sit there because of it.
They'll probably go away from Islam, in the fact if you don't sit.
They will actually say, they will say this, they will say, why can't you sit next to the woman? Is there something wrong with you? Are you going to jump on her?
Sheikh, in that lecture theatre example we gave, so students 9 to 5, they're studying lectures, economics, and they're mixing. And then all of a sudden, this is Islam lecture event now, and they separate. So then you're like, the non-Muslims will in a way become more distant, I think, from the whole actually coming towards Islam.
They'll think if you can't sit next to a woman,
he's right actually.
If you can't sit next to a woman, if you're a man and you say I can't sit next to a woman, they'll think you're mad. Actually, like I won, they jump on.
Okay, so let's take it like this. Let's take it like this. Prohibition of sitting with one lady, it will go in Hanafi Mazhab as soon as there will be 2 obedient people with one lady in one room. That is finished. But in terms of culture, so you should be behaving in the venue according to noble way of your own culture.
Yeah, that's right.
Is it done now?
Yes, that's
done. So if your noble way is a noble custom in your place is to make it separately, so we say you should follow that, because in Hanafi Madhab, any place where there is no text in Quran and Sunnah, custom will be taken on board. Okay?
As a guideline.
Exactly, So according to the custom, you should keep noble behaving. That's it.
So then that means that in this society we shouldn't be segregating.
So if that's what culture is,
that's the noble, that's the custom.
This is the view. If you can't sit next to a woman, they think there's something wrong with you. They think that are you too much energy.
But anyway, but the general ruling will stay there, will be still applicable. Touching, or speaking, voice, So all of it, we're not talking. So we're talking only about the free mixing. That would be yes. And any other question?
That's it.
The Sheikh is quite amazing. People say Islam doesn't respect people's cultures, but it's actually beautiful the way you've explained it. Islam,
what would be the thing? Okay, implement the custom, the beautiful custom of your race.
Well, I think just that piece deserves a seminar by itself, actually. It's so surprising.
There's so many events that take place. Have you heard of culture?
No, but GPU, I don't agree with, because there is music, okay?
No, not that. Like the GPU and most of other people, they don't come for it because it's not segregated. Then they make their own event, which was segregated.
No, in terms of GPUs, they have anashid and music.
No, I'm not talking about that. They're not talking about that. They're saying because it's not segregated, we're not coming.
They don't care about the music. They're more worried about people will not come to this event. If I said it's not, most of the events they advertise as fully segregated. So, but implicit understanding.
Sorry, I have to go. It's my son, by the way.
Okay, mashallah. Does he speak Turkish also?
He understands.
Understand, but he doesn't speak.
No. So I think it's... Oh, Rehan, I'll speak to you later, yeah?
Okay, anything else, please?
I've forgotten. Carry on, Sheikh. Sorry.
Okay, no, I think if you don't have a question, if you can just stop here.
Finish?
Can I just one question? Sorry, because Sheikh, you were talking about professions you were going to go into. Working like within hospital and going back to the topic of touch. As male doctors or so, you touch female patients.
Yeah, it was part of our lecture actually. So we say only if there is no any other option.
Okay. Yeah.
So because we have a scenario in which, do you remember Abdullah ibn Zubayr radiallahu anhu, he has been poisoned. Abdullah ibn Zubayr has been hurt actually.
Okay.
So when he became ill, when he was Khalifa, some of the ladies used to give to treat him, massaging also. We say that is permissible out of necessity. Okay, so for example, let's suppose that I'm a doctor and there is some female patient, okay, and then I need to check her private places, Awra for example, etc. And then it will be permissible only if there is no anyone who can replace me. Okay, so only then it will be permissible.
Okay. But if wouldn't the lady be offended? Like if she goes into the clinic and you're her doctor, and then you have to check her aura, and then he's like, and he says to you, "Oh, I don't want to do it. I'm going to get someone else to do it." That's offensive to her.
No, it doesn't matter. Even if it's offensive, no.
Okay.
No.
Because that slightly falls into culture in a way, not fully, but
no, because anything in where we have text in Quran and Sunnah, okay, clear-cut text, we do not accept the culture in there. So culture will come on board where there is no Quran and Sunnah text, which is confirmed by the Mujtahideen. So it is prohibited for men to look at the aura of a people, okay, as long as they can, okay, and only in very exemptional situations it will be permissible.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Sheikh, and we'll